What does that sound, you ask?
From the number one station, you come.
Welcome to the Rec Show podcast, a show dedicated to beat makers around the world. Kick back, relax with the host, Golden Mind.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the
Cheers.
Subscribe
man.
on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, and all that good stuff. But it's the Rec Show podcast. You better get that right. Rec Show podcast coming at you hot in 2024. All your favorite producers, conversations, and things that you need to know about beat making. Blow.
Wow. Check. 1, 2. Peace and love, everybody. Golden Mind here for the Rec Show podcast. Man, we got a special edition, man, special episode. But before we get into this new episode, we want to go back in the history just a little bit. November, we had onesies, twosies come out. We had, DJ Basta from California. He was on the episode.
Basta is Oakland Gem. Sorry to interrupt. That guy's amazing.
Yeah, you good? Yeah. And then we had Cryptic One, the legendary Cryptic One, who's been doing this for 3 decades, man. So, man, we had some amazing guests just in November. And I didn't do 4 weeks, 4 episodes per month just because of the holidays and stuff like that.
Cryptic guy's incredible, and that's today's Future Sound and Global Beatside for Family. That's good people. He just volunteered with us at the Brooklyn Justice Initiative. So shout out Cryptic One, doing amazing stuff.
Yep, I just saw that too. Absolutely. So internets, go ahead and tap into those episodes. They are available now on anywhere you get your podcast, but then also go ahead and over to the Rec Show Podcast YouTube channel. Go ahead, hit that like, hit the subscribe, man, and stay tuned, man. 2024, we're going up. But today we have a special guest, man. Somebody that's been on the show before, but that wasn't good enough, man. So he was like, let's link up again. We came back. We coming back around. You know what I'm saying? We got some special announcements that's going on, but we also got some fundraising. So do me a favor, hit that like, hit the subscribe, and then share this as well, man. So we got a beat maker. He's originally from, I want to say NY. Right?
Yeah, so born in San Francisco, but I'm a New Yorker through and through. Since I was 1.5, grew up, lived in New York City until age 18. I'm definitely a New Yorker. I walk fast, even if I live here on the West Coast now. Kind of bi-coastal, but I go back and like I said, when I moved out here, my only car was a subway car when I moved out here. So I was a New Yorker in this strange land we call California.
New Yorker, man. New Yorker. All right, so we got a New Yorker, but then he's
you'll catch hints of the accent here and there, but it's
I saw that in Texas State. I was like, you gotta be from the East Coast, too. So I knew that already. But anyway, so we got beat maker, beat junkie. He's a DJ. He's a psychologist. Wow, why am I messing up that word? A psychologist. Culture ambassador, man. He's an activist. He's definitely in the community. He's all over the world as well, man. He's a director of a nonprofit, which is Today's Future Sound. And if you don't know who I'm talking about already, you need to, man. He just completed a 365-day challenge as well. So we're gonna get into that. We're gonna talk about that as well. He's also here. We're gonna talk about the fundraising that we're doing for Today's Future Sound, which reaches not only United States communities and stuff like that, but all around the world that he goes in with him and his team and reaches out to. So I want y'all to give it up for my guy, the one and only Philip Drummond, a.k.a. Dr. Egon. What's going on, fam?
And he said Egon, okay.
Yeah.
A.k.a.
I said
Dr.
Egon.
Beats.
Yeah, Dr.
Hey, I rock with that.
I say
the only
Egon.
thing is,
I don't know why.
that works. Egan that's my first, initial. That's my email address. Dr. Elliot Gann, aka Philip Drummond, Filthy Beats, also known to the kids when I'm teaching as Dr. Beats, if that's what they choose to call me. A lot of kids do. I got my Dr. Beats jacket and all that. But yeah, shout outs to you, man. I appreciate what you do. Thank you for having me on the show again and let me do a redo. Last time the sound fidelity, the audio was horrible. I was just about to go to Poland. I was still displaced from my my apartment, and I was trying to get the audio right, and the audio went all wrong with a dysfunctional like lavalier clip mic that just did not work. So thank you for letting me do this. It's an honor and privilege to be here. Big fan of Rec Show podcast. And you, it's a pleasure to meet you in Texas at the the Texas State Hip Hop Next 50 Beat Cypher, Beat Set Battle. You were in the final, so big up to you on that. You and Acclimated Assassin. It was San Antonio versus Austin in the building. It was dope, man. You rocked.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you for coming on, man. Thank you for the opportunity. Yo, we appreciate. I forgot to add in your description of everything that you do. You know what I mean? Hero, man, because you out there like literally in the streets. You know what I mean? Trying to change. You're creating change. You're a change maker, man, because you're out there with the kids, getting them while they're young, and just changing some things within the community where it's keeping them out of jail. First of all, keeping them out of jail, keeping them out of the social. What do we call that? Like when they get caught up and have to go from home to home, like group homes.
Oh yeah,
and stuff
social
like
systems,
that.
the foster care system. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So a hero, man. I got to add that in there, man. So, hey, when this is going on, the whole, the applause is going to be going the whole time.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. We try to do what we can, and we try to be, a preventative program, but also a program that just meets kids where they're at on their headphones, and helping them find something that they love. Trying to help kids find joy and creativity. We do also work with kids in the foster system and with homeless youth, with houseless youth. We work in juvenile detention settings. We're currently working in 2 different juvenile halls locally here in Oakland and in San Mateo, which is the county next to San Francisco. And I do volunteer work in Australia and other countries in Latin America, Australia, Oceania, in juvenile halls there and prisons there, because I believe those are some of the people who've experienced the greatest amount of trauma, along with foster youth and social services systems, who really deserve and need that, maybe don't have access to that. Just trying to share what's therapeutic for us. Well, our slogan at Today's Future Sound is, I wish I had this when I was a kid, because literally I've heard, so many people, like more than 100 volunteers or people who've heard about our program who are beat makers verbatim say that. I wish I had this when I was a kid, when they're in the schools with us, seeing it happen, when they're doing it, right? Or hearing about it. And that's what we all say. So it's really in the spirit of hip hop and each one teach one, the intergenerational passing on of traditions and culture and in hip hop culture and beat making. I see it as intergenerational healing in the face of intergenerational trauma, and trying to push back against that and offset that, and just offer, joy and connection and community and opportunity, access to kids, to young people, even to young adults and older adults, to have that experience, to give them the experience, what we wanted, what we wish we had when we were kids. So this is really the motivating factor, our inner beat making child or non-beat making child that we're trying to get there, offering that. And it brings me such joy to be able to do that, and to be able to build community, be part of different communities, bring people together. That's really my MO and my mission in life, is to do that, and to try to inspire more joy for everyone in a world that can be very difficult and challenging and all that. Give us these oases, these pockets of joy at beat ciphers and in beat making workshops and therapeutic beat making workshops and classes and community settings. So that's what I'm all about, and what we're all about at Today's Future Sound, and what we try to do. And it's for us beat nerds and beat junkies and what have you, who may not necessarily want to be in the club all the time, or we want to play our beats. We don't want to, be hearing just like top 40 or radio or whatever's being programmed on Spotify or by the algorithms, but share our music. So that's just a little bit to speak to your point. And thank you for that beautiful intro.
Yeah, yo, man. So, yo, that's where we are right now. And I'm gonna just this is you know what, I'm gonna just open up my life just a little bit, man. So if I was in the foster care system, right? So, if this was available to me when this happened, because I've always loved music ever since I was a kid. Like I would get in trouble from my mom beating on the table, you know what I'm saying? Like I would get in
Yeah,
trouble
yep,
for,
yep.
hey, cat stop that drumming, you know what I mean? So shout out to mom. She didn't kill me. So look at me now, mom.
Hey,
But yo, she's like, if this was available, man, like, yo, I I have no clue where a lot of people would be, especially if they were in the foster care system, jail system, juvenile detention system. Like it would have made a tremendous impact. And y'all been doing this for what, 11, 12 years now, I think. So
yeah,
but
I took it over in 2012 and really kind of formally launched the structure of it in March of 2013. Ben Durazo, who does the 2MPC thing and is an incredible beatmaker musician himself, founded it and came up with the name in 2010, and I took it over from him. I was working with him from 2010, 2011, 12ish, and then took it over in full and kind of really took it to its structure and kind of implemented the early iterations, the early form of like the therapeutic beat making model, and thinking about it from a therapeutic and educational perspective, and then brought in all these folks then. So we've been going for a minute, and it's been a beautiful thing having the community involved.
man, incredible, man. So I'm gonna loop right back around to that, but I got to start with you, man. Like, how did you even come up? I'm gonna go into your history just a little bit so the internets can understand. Like, you're not only a doctor, man. So you're not only an activist and everything like that. You're also a beat maker too, and then you have your own musical journey. So my first question would be, how did you even come up with the name Philip Drummond or Philip Filthy Drummond? Because when I hear Philip Drummond, I think different strokes. So tell me about that.
Yeah. So I had a way whacker name that I'm not going to disclose previous to that. And when I wasn't taking myself as seriously, and my boy in New York, he was like 3 or 4 years younger than me, but he was always like putting me up on game, or always knew about like the dope stuff, the dope shit. He put me up on Saigon and Mark Ronson before they blew up and told me about it. He had, I think, either Illa J or Jay Dilla's 4-track that he probably never returned to them. But like, that's the kind of kid he was in, like, as a freshman in high school. Like, and he could rhyme, he could freestyle, he was super dope. So I was hanging out with him. We were like, working on music together and just kick it. We went and saw like Eminem right before he blew up, when he was still Slim Shady at Tramps in New York, and when like My Name was only on late night radio. So he just knew what was up, right? And he's like, yo, man, you should call yourself Philip Drummond. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I'm from the Upper East Side of Manhattan. I'm a upper middle class white dude from my origins. And I feel like, this is kind of after the fact, my interpretation, but in a way, not being born into, hip hop necessarily. I mean, I grew up in New York City, and I really fell in love like in 5th grade with it. And, but it wasn't something that like my family or my community per se, was like, it's not my origin. And I'm not, I'm a visitor in hip hop being a white dude. I'm a practitioner and a hip hop head through and through, and it shapes the way I view the world. But it seemed kind of like an interesting metaphor to kind of be, adopting Black culture, but also acknowledging, where I come from and my privilege and my class, and not denying it. And it also, like, you just tell any hip hop head over the age of 35, I say my name, and like they get it, they laugh also because of like the generational thing, the show. It also kind of, it's cool the way you can kind of flip the name, right? My boy Lush One, who I made albums with, some people may know him from Grind Time or from KOTD or all these different battle leagues, because we used to do a lot of MC battles together and music together. would call me like filthy drummer, right? And then I just put out a drum and bass, like a jungle record remix of a boom bap track I did years ago. Just dropped that a couple months ago, and when I do drum and bass, when I do jungle, I'm Philip drum and bass, right? So it's got the drums in it, filthy drums. I really like dirty, grimy boom bap, crunchy drums. So I think there's a lot of ways that you can play with the name that makes sense. I encourage people to call me Filthy. If you want to call me something for short, don't call me Philip, because that sounds like a real person's name, and I look like I could damn near be a Philip, but I'm not. My name is Elliot. So
Right.
don't call me Philip.
Right.
Call me Filthy. That'll be that's one of my taglines. Call me Filthy, but with a PH. And so that's the origin story of the name, that kind of has different iterations. Filthy beats, Filthy Drummond, Filthy Drummer, Philip drum and bass. Some people call me Drummond, and I like the drums. The drums are the core. That's the basis of hip hop, and the foundation, the breaks, the drums, the rhythms. And I've just played off of that, and so that's the name. That's the origin. You got a little history of my early kind of iterations in hip hop there.
Yo, if for the internets, man, that don't know, Lush One, man. I think he's got his own. He's got his own right now. I've been seeing Lush One for years, because I'm a battle rap fan. So, because he's always the one that's like, he's got like a little bit of a raspy voice, but he's so like high energy. Yeah. So,
Well, yeah. I mean, we put out in 2008. We put out our opus, which took 3 years to make, called Music for Dope Runs, and it was ironic because I was in graduate school at the time, trying to like counter the effects of drugs and all the kind of like illicit stuff. Right? And it's always complicated, but I used to wear a mask and hide my face, because I also didn't want like my clients or patients like seeing me or associating me with a record like that, with that name. And so I told him, look, we can't just be glorifying selling drugs, moving drugs, taking drugs. Like this can't. It has to be three-dimensional. There has to be an offset to this. There has to be the negative side. So the record's actually kind of deep in the way that there's a song about like Maria, who based on Maria Full of Grace, who is it's about a drug mule, and it's telling her story and her biography and her trauma and her history. And then like the last track with like Thesaurus is all about when you get popped, when you get caught, and the music video has him getting popped, and getting caught and being sent away. So I really wanted to kind of offset that. So yeah, and Lush and I kind of brought Lush into this, what we would later call the Fresh Coast scene of hip hop, which really influenced battle rap in a major way, even on an international scale, in terms of like multisyllabic, like leveling up of like rhyming and battle rhyming, multisyllabic punchlines and rhyme schemes in a way that most folks weren't really doing it compared to how we were doing it in Cali and on the West Coast. So there's a lot of behind the scenes that people don't know about. But yeah, Lush and I kind of brought together. He labeled it Fresh Coast, taking that from like a Project Blowed kind of thing that he had heard before. But that was something that we were really involved in. We made a lot of music together. We've traveled to France together in a group called Rollin' Rockers in its first iteration. So there's history there. And I used to be super, super deep. I used to have one of the biggest collections of battle rap and MC battle footage in the world, and would ship it literally all over the world. I shipped it to Australia. MC Justice, who won Scribble Jam years ago, literally bought the entire collection, studied the source and the other, Fresh Coast MCs, battle rappers, and then came back and beat him with his own formula. So, and hella, like there's a lot of history.
That's
there.
battle rap. That's battle rap 101.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
But anyway, yeah. Shouts to Lush, and yeah, that's a little piece of my history before I kind of migrated much more into doing strictly beat battles and beat ciphers. From the MC battle and MC kind of battle rap scene, I put on tons and tons of battles, captured, did videos with Avocado. I brought Avocado in to like document, the battles, and that's how he got involved, through that with Grind Time. I was vice president of Grind Time for a minute before I stepped down, and then KOTD and that kind of thing. So there's little things here. This is like a little backstory. Most people don't know this stuff, but I've been around in a lot of different cutty places and behind the scenes, and done a lot of work in kind of different aspects of hip hop aside from just beat making and all that. So,
Wow, you've been doing a lot of stuff. How long have you been in, this journey of hip hop for you?
I mean, it depends where you define it starting. I mean, I fell in love with rap and hip hop, arguably when I heard the single from Tribe Called Quest in like 91, 92, Scenario, right? I remember Lauren Adolphson, rest in peace, brought the single cassette into our classroom, and we were studying rock and roll in fifth grade. It was the dopest class. We
Wow.
did like this music video, and we're studying rock and roll. It was like the illest fifth grade class of all time. And but she put in that tape, and we used to rap along with it. Here we go, yo. Here we go, yo. So what's the scenario? Like we're all rapping during break period to Scenario, and then I'm seeing the music video for it, which is like this, 90s QuickTime tracker, 90s looking like video with all the cheesy 90 video effects on like the video editing software from back then, which it was an interesting kind of meta take. But I was also in New York City, right? Growing up in Manhattan, the birthplace of hip hop, where like hip hop was the defining style and aesthetic and like the coolest thing. So I really fell in love with that. And then Cypress Hill, Insane in the Membrane. I think it might have been the summer before or the summer after fifth grade, which was the same year as Scenario by Tribe Called Quest. And I was just like, yo, this is it. They play the best part again and again. And shit makes me like super hype and like, this is it. The drums, the sounds, the rhymes, the energy, the vibe. So I think from there, like that was the beginning of my falling in love with hip hop. And then it just kind of continued and beats like through middle school. The Beastie Boys, like Wu-Tang had come out when I was in seventh grade, and that was a thing. Snoop Dogg, listening to Doggy Style. I thought that album was amazing. Those beats were incredible. And to
Wow.
me, people will definitely strongly disagree with me, but I rank for me the production on Doggy Style by Dre, by Quick, by other folks who were involved in whether it was Battle Cat or I don't know who else didn't get their production credits on that. But no matter, that influenced me, and like I think that's a better produced album than The Chronic, and a lot of people will object to that. But like for me, I think Doggy Style is one of, if not the best produced records of all time, along with Midnight Marauders. So I really was influenced by that, by both Tribe and Wu-Tang, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Cypress Hill, which was like West Coast, but they had this East Coast aesthetic. And DJ Muggs is a major influence and one of my favorite producers. Like Insane in the Membrane, what the hell is that sound? Oh, it's a horse, or like, Hits from the Bong. What the hell is that sample from? That, like, it's amazing, when the shit goes down, Cock the Hammer, all of that. Like, that was infiltrating my eardrums and, was in my mind. And mind you, I'm walking around New York City in like a Champion hoodie and, baggy Union Bay or Silver Tab jeans or, like that's what everyone's wearing. Stussy,
Right.
you go downtown to the Stussy store in the Village, go down to St. Mark's to cop your t-shirts, like hip hop t-shirts and music t-shirts and all sorts of other stuff, So it's really, that was the kind of the backdrop for me and kind of when I fell in love. And then it just increased more and more as I went from middle school to high school. And I really discovered more and more of like, I'm also listening to electronic music, another kind of beats oriented music, house music, jungle drum and bass, trip hop, Portishead. I think Jeff Barrow is one of the best beat makers of all time who's not credited with like the beats on the first Portishead album are ill. Like Nas could have rapped over that. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's grimy boom bap beats, but it's trip hop. So Tricky, Max and Quay was something I was like bumping hard. A lot of underground trip hop and electronic music. Daft Punk's first album when I hit 10th grade, even though it's house music, it's very much indebted to hip hop and loop based electronic music. And the funk is like a funky West Coast funk, Detroit techno inspired kind of all of the above, an amalgamation of all those influences. So I'm listening both to like electronic music, I'm listening to mix shows where they're playing like, Lesson 6 by Cut Chemist, and then also playing like, Le Rhythm Digital and Daft Punk and other electronic stuff and this melange of beats. So I'm going to, raves and underground, parties in New York City. Concrete Jungle is a jungle party in New York City that we used to go to and going to underground hip hop shows. Like having access to the wetlands, to tramps, to SOBs. Like, these are all classic places where underground hip hop was alive and well. I saw the Roots play like 6 times under filling recording artist, jam session, Sasadat X and, Guru get on stage there. And, just, it was insane. Like Fifth Platoon, the X-Men before they were the Executioners, it was like, I was so lucky to be there and have access to like the halftime show, WNYU, Stretch and Bobbito, 89 Tech 9, listening to Stretch's first album. That really got me into a lot of underground stuff, including Company Flow. And then I later fell in love with Company Flow, Fun Crusher Plus, major influence, LP, all that. So it's like there's so much there. And then moving to California when I was 18, and then getting involved both in the Bay Area hip hop scene, seeing the premiere of Scratch, like with the DJs who were in it, in the theater at the premiere, it was crazy. Having access to people there, and then going to Southern California and linking up with cats from SoCal, being able to drive to Project Blowed in LA, and having access to all that. And J5 was popping off, Dilated Peoples, being in Cali for that, in that vicinity. It was just, I was really tapped into it. That's when Future Primitive was going to in San Francisco, which was like a collaboration of turntablists and beat makers, and they'd have live performances of Shortcut meets Cut Chemist, stuff like that. That whole scene in San Francisco and the Bay Area, so much. It was the turntablism and the early iterations of beat culture and instrumental beat music, like trip hop or not,
Man, you've been all over. You've been in some of the internet. You're gonna have to rewind this and then Google everything that he was talking about. There's so much in what you just said in the last 2, 3, 4 minutes. Man, I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it and then do my research on a good portion of it, man. But let me start at home. Growing up, I don't know if it was mom, dad, I don't know if it was brothers, sisters. You got older brothers and sisters, you got uncles, aunties, grandmoms, granddads. Like, who was playing the music in your house, and what were they playing?
So I grew up with my dad playing piano and guitar and singing, and it's not what he did professionally, but he was incredible. I have vivid memories of sitting underneath my grandmother's grand piano in her apartment in New York City, and my dad would play Scarlatti or Beethoven or Chopin, and sitting under, you're catching the reverberations from underneath the piano, which is kind of ill, And my dad, could also play guitar and sing. He was in his singing group. He had even made records in college and traveled with a Russian chorus and all this kind of stuff. My mom wasn't particularly musical. I think she wished that she was. And so she liked music and had an appreciation for it. My mom's the kind of person that she's got pretty good taste in general. So she came back from Jazz Fest one year, where there were the meetings, the psychoanalytic meetings that she was attending, with a Funky Meters CD and a Dr. John CD. And I'm like, yo, that's dope. My mom's buying a Meters CD, because she likes it. That's a good look. I'm like, Mom, this is dope. I'm gonna sample this. My dad was definitely very, very musical. I had some older cousins. Shout out to my older cousins, Andrea and Ellen, who were also just really cool, really tapped in, and who were into all different genres of music. But they're the ones who told me, man, Paul's Boutique is the best Beastie Boys album, which I think is up for debate. I think is very arguable. Even when it, Check Your Head was out, and maybe Ill Communication had just come out, or whatever, and I'm hearing Ill Communication in 7th grade and Q-Tip's verse on it and that kind of stuff. But one of my cousins even told me, she's like, man, EPMD's kind of cheesy with the pop crossover. And so even though EPMD is seminal classic hip hop and make, dope records, and, Eric Parrish, dope producer, and I mean, and they put on Redman, who's so dope and I love too. I think I always had a bias, a prejudice against them because my older cousin told me that, and because she would put me on the dope shit, underground crazy shit. And I think, there were probably other older folks that I don't know who put me up on some game, but a lot of it was discovering stuff, was the radio. I would just literally used to go. There was this record store called HMV on 86 and Lexington in New York, in Manhattan. Massive CD record store. And I literally used to go and hang out in the hip hop section because they would get to play whatever music they wanted. That's how I heard the Stretch Armstrong mix CD, Volume 1, that had Company Flow on it. It had Getting Closer to God, in a tight situation, like Lace the Booms, all these really dope, grimy underground hip hop cats. And so then I discovered a lot of underground through that. And just look at album covers. Like I seen the Latyrix album for years and thought that looks dope, but I haven't heard it. Should I cop it? And later, I ended up copying it. It was amazing. It was produced by DJ Shadow and Chief Excel, and had Latif and Lyric Born rapping on it, doing some of the most mind-blowing MCing over, that I had heard, over some of the dopest beats I had heard. So I was literally going to HMV almost every day after school and just kicking it in the hip hop section, just looking at albums and wondering what they were. I had access to Fat Beats and would go down to, later in high school, go down to Fat Beats. Yeah. And you would walk into Fat Beats and there'd be, there's a turntable and they would be playing and all the records would be like, yo, what's the hot shit? What's the new shit? I heard Non-Profits, which is Sage Francis. That's his group with Joey Beats. I heard off of that tape, before it was on wax, in Fat Beats, I heard Bounce. And I said, what the hell is this? This is fire. I need this, right? So then I went and copped the Scribble Jam, VHS cassette, because Sage Francis was battling on it. And I was like, I want to see some rap battle. I want to see what he does. He won it. Okay. I know him from Non-Profit. So, the different things that you have access to in the early years of the internet and kind of pre-internet and pre-YouTube, that, and then going off to school, having access to, high-speed internet, downloading like cutty underground Canadian hip hop, like Dirty Circus from Vancouver, and what called Dirty Circus, and I forgot the other subgroups associated with them, and like Benefit, right? In '99, the kid that recorded his whole album with one of those, gray computer mics and made all the beats for it, had that record so sick. And the Mario song, like that, and Egon at the same time, like my boy from San Jose, they were underground hip hop cats too, and they're like, they had techniques. So I used to go over their dorm room and they'd be like, yo, check out Egon. It's like, who's this cat? Egon, so sick. This is ridiculous. So I was downloading all this stuff, downloading tons and tons. Atmosphere, like back in '99, the Lucy 40 EP, or maybe pre that, and hearing that stuff and getting access to that through these kind of back channels, and of course later Napster and like LimeWire, but before that, like off these servers, like off these crews that were ripping these underground records and playing them, and listening to underground hip hop, and just listening to the underground station at, where I went to UC Santa Barbara in California, and being with all these, Filipino, like turntablist cats from LA and from the Bay, who, like the Filipino frat was the only frat that I would consider kicking it with, because they all had Technique 1200s and Vestax 05 Pros set up in their frat house. So we used to go over and like scratch or kick it or talk about beats and just nerd out on shit. So it was really, it was a lot of that. It was coming with this kind of already this knowledge of underground hip hop, and coming from New York City in the Renaissance, of New York hip hop, indie hip hop. And it's interesting because I've been listening to Talib Kweli's podcast and him talking about, and interviews with him and other people, and he so eloquently, he just perfectly phrases it, that the anti-commercial like kind of stance of New York underground hip hop and underground hip hop in the US against the jiggy movement and like the whole commercial thing that was happening from like 95, 96 on, and how we were so staunch underground, real hip hop, that kind of shit. He, like, what he says to a T is like how I felt and how I experienced it and how I lived it, in terms of being like pretty anti-commercial and trying to create a space from early on with like, groups that I put together, social circles of us that used to kick it and listen to underground hip hop, and like, oh, have you heard the new Deltron record? Oh, Automator, da da da. Later, I started the hip hop club at UC Santa Barbara, and we used to literally go into, this is kind of the early iterations before today's Future Sound. We used to go to elementary schools and with b-boys and b-girls and turntables and lug the gear and set up and perform for the kids, and then do little demos for have them do it. We started a campus visitation program for kids from underserved communities, bringing them on campus and doing both hip hop like workshops and performances, but also telling them how they could get into the university. We used to put on popping battles and bring up, legendary funk styles dancers from LA, from Long Beach, from Inland Empire in California, and down from the Bay, like some of the best funk style dancers, people you've seen in like Step Up Part 5, like Mad Chad, and we used to drop down to Project Blowed, like, so we had access to like a lot of cool stuff, and was kind of integrating all this really underground hip hop and extensions of hip hop, dance culture, rave music, electronic music, breakbeat based music, and just kind of learning from my peers, and later starting the hip hop club at UCSB, putting on battles. We put on a battle that the student center was only supposed to have 800 people. We had 1,200 people in the student center for this MC battle that I arranged. Immaculate, came down from Portland and, flew him down, and he slept on my couch at our house. And we had so many people packed in there, and a line out the door, a big cash prize, people who'd been on like the MTV, battles and are legendary now. No Can Do from people might know him from Low End Theory and from Project Blowed. Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy just having access to that in your kind of your periphery, or being adjacent to that. Santa Barbara's like 90 miles from LA, so it's not a long drive. And, college and university is a really beautiful resource for meeting people from all over, especially in Cali, and being able to have time just to do that stuff. So that's kind of like, it was both New York and it was California. It was, my dad moved to California, to San Francisco when I was 9. So I'd spend time out there, and then I could get access to the underground scene in, Oakland, Berkeley, Living Legends. And then you had the San Francisco scene that was really, really like dope at the time, with Future Primitive, like I mentioned, and a lot of stuff popping off there.
Wow, man. And all of that starting from you just being next to, with your pops, but then also with, I think you said your mom or your grandmom was playing the piano.
So my dad was playing the piano.
Dad was playing the piano. So the energy playing the piano, and then I want y'all to think about this. You're a little kid sitting underneath of a piano, just catching the vibes, and then that transcends all the way to what you were just talking about, which is curating event shows and going to fat beats. Oh my gosh, man!
It's funny. It's crazy, man. Like, my parents had a turntable and a CD player, so I would put the records on. I was like listening to my parents' records, like the Beatles and other stuff like that, and also playing Dire Straits, like Money for Nothing, right? So I had access to vinyl, and then my neighbors, when I was like 9, 10, 11, maybe 11, threw out a turntable and hundreds of records, which I took in. Now, mind you, and so I started because I wanted to scratch them, and I could scratch the dinosaur record I had as a little kid, right? Is a turntable with could also record. It had a built-in tape deck, right? So you could record from the vinyl. So I could record myself scratching, but only from one deck. I got a lot of, I got similar stories to so many of us, like the pause, the dubbing cassettes and recording from the radio, catching the dopest song on, Funk Master Flex or on 89.9 or, the halftime show WNYU with like DJ Eclipse and DJ Riz and all that. I used to call in all the time and talk to them and talk to the lady that did the halftime show with them. And I won hella tickets to see like the Arsonists and Nonfiction, or see like KRS-One at Tramps and for Cinco de Mayo in '97. That was a crazy show. But I also, from the time I was a kid, and I think this is a similar story to a lot of people who became DJs or MCs or beat makers. Like, as a kid, I used to record vinyl to tape, or record with a tape recorder myself, and I would be doing radio DJ stuff. So I'd be narrating, making my own DJ mix show, right? And playing records and introducing it, with my Fisher Price turntable. And then, later my other turntable and all this vinyl that I collected. And I started buying vinyl in high school with the intention of scratching and making beats and all that. And I got to give a shout out to Mr. Rubin, who was an art teacher at my high school. I never had a class with him, but he was cool. And I used to go kick it free periods and just talk about music with them. He put me up on like, you know, that Tricky and Portishead had both sampled the same Isaac Hayes sample, and like Bomb the Bass and all this other stuff. And I remember wanting, I used to get Pro Sound and Stage Lighting catalog, and it would have like the MPC, you know, 2000, the MPC 2000 XL, the S20. So I remember for years being like, man, I want to get should I get an S20 or an MPC? I want to make beats. And I went to, I think it was Sam Ash in New York City is like, you know, if you watch the Wu-Tang series, that's where he gets that 1200, right? And like,
yeah, you try to sneak it out in his book bag, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I went there and asked the dude, I'm like, yo, I want to make beats. I want to get like an MPC. And the guy's like, look, are you going to college? And I must have been a senior or junior in high school. I said, yeah. He said, I know the MPC is sexy. And I know it's like you have this romanticized notion of it. It's expensive. But if you're getting a computer, there's no point in spending all this money on it when you could get these programs that are coming out. Essentially, he was talking about DAWs and beat making applications. And, you know, get a MIDI controller, just use a much more powerful computer to make beats than, you know, ostensibly wasting $2,500 on an MPC, or, you know, take advantage of that. And that's what I did. I ended up doing that. I was already in 97, like I really wanted to make beats. So I was using my little brother's computer that he had saved up for, and had like the Deep Concentration by Alm compilation with like Lesson 6 by, it had like all these turntablists on it, and Cut Chemist. And it had this thing called Mixman where you could play the loops from the tracks. And then I had like the first iteration of FL Studio. Propeller Head's first application before Reason was Rebirth, which emulated like a 909, a TR-909 and a 303. And so I was making really crappy beats on there. And then, you know, other trackers or beat making programs. Then went to college, got Cool Edit Pro. Shout out Peter Quistegard. Appreciate you, Peter Quistegard, for that crack. Cool Edit Pro was making beats on Cool Edit Pro, which became Adobe Audition. Sonic Foundry Acid, FL Studio. Programming drums in FL Studio, looping and chopping also in Sonic Foundry Acid, and yeah, making some really trash beats until I finally made, you know, a good beat. But that was the journey, and meeting kids who were DJs and turntablists from like SoCal, and meeting other, you know, cats who are interested in beat making and all that kind of stuff. So it was like all these different sources of input, but I was just really curious and really seeing anyone who had knowledge about like how to make beats, how to scratch, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Man, I gotta ask you this, man. Speaking, you going through all of this, like, what was that one beat that you heard that was like, it kind of just messed you up? It was like, holy shit, man! Like, I'm in it right now. What was that one beat for you? Because everybody got one. It may have been a couple beats. But what were the couple beats that blew your mind, man?
I think they would be like the first songs that I named when I fell in love with hip hop, listening to Scenario, because that beat was amazing, and then, you know, Insane in the Membrane. For me, I always listen to the beat first, and then if the raps are dope too, then I'm even more about it. But like that's what caught me. I remember the other thing that comes to mind is like hearing Lesson 6 by Cut Chemist, but also hearing like when I first heard DJ Shadow's Midnight in a Perfect World and introducing starting track Building Steam with a Grain of Salt, I was like, yo, what the fuck is this? Like, what are these drums? What is this piano sample? These vocals, like, this is heavy. I used to go to sleep, you know, like almost every night listening to like that or Portishead or Tricky, and then, you know, wake up in the morning sometimes to that. You know, there was also like Get It Together by the Beast Boys. That beat is incredible. That jazz beat, that like, you know, short piano loop. I was listening to Beck too, and like arguably Beck, it's kind of like trash can hip hop beats, very like grimy and like early lo-fi. But to me, arguably Beck was singing over, pseudo rapping, you know, its first album, Mellow Gold, over you know, boom bap beats, and you know, kind of. I was also listening to like a lot of alternative rock and stuff like that too, that kind of, you know, bridged over. But yeah, man, and like, you know, hearing like when Moment of Truth came out, I think it was 11th grade in high school. I want to say it was 97. those beats were incredible. Like Work, or You Know My Steez. Like who distorts an 808 snare drum or 909 snare drum like that, you know? And like those drums were so compressed and so saturated and distorted, and like it was so innovative of DJ Premier, the way that he did that. Omen of Truth, JFK to LAX. Like I reckon that's one of the best produced hip hop albums, and in my top 3 or 4 best produced records of all time, up there with Midnight Marauders and Bizarre Ride. When I heard Bizarre Ride, like Your Mama or you know, obviously everyone passing me by, but like Your Mama, Oh Shit. Like I think Bizarre Ride is one of the best produced records of all time. And most people are like, oh, La Cabin. But for me, it's not La Cabin. It's Bizarre Ride. Jay Swift is one of the, he has a smaller catalog because of like, you know, his addiction issues and all that kind of stuff. But the guy's, I think, one of the best boom bap beat makers of all time that's really slept on, who made incredible records. Like, and Bizarre Ride's a perfect example of that. I think it's an almost perfectly produced record, album. So to me, that's the kind of stuff, that aesthetic, along with like Cypress Hill, DJ Muggs, DJ Shadow, DJ Premier, RZA. Like when you first hear like Wu-Tang and like how grimy those beats are, and like what he did with like the saturation and the distortion. So I think a lot of that stuff, a lot of East Coast but also West Coast stuff. Hearing Lyrics, man, like the Lyrics, self-titled Lyrics album, and the song Lyrics that opens up the record, the rapping simultaneously at different rhythms with different cadences over like how did DJ Shadow make that beat? It's like a your mind is melting kind of beat, matches perfectly them rapping at the same time in your left and right ear, like the whole, and like LP, 8 Steps to Perfection, Company Flow, that Extrude, Collude, Extrude. How do you make a beat like that? What is that? You know what? And Burners later figured out, you know, a lot of what LP was doing was taking like disco samples and slowing them down 30, 40 BPM. You know, the really funky tracks, and slowing them down, and that's how you get that grimy, you know, time stretched but still funky kind of, but dirty grime. But like, you know, those are tracks that stick out to me. There's a lot of other ones. The other one for me, and I mentioned this on the interview last time, is Verse Murphy. When I got into college and freshman year of hip hop, when I discovered Sacred Hoop, it was a Bay Area / Arizona hip hop group, and Verse Murphy, it's VRSE Murphy, was doing some of like the craziest, like combining, using samples that you would never imagine, like using like, you know, atmospheric jungle sounds layered over like a Congo loop, layered with the vocal sampled from Runaround Sue, layered with the music from Fellini's 8½, and then sampling like totally other like crazy 70s stand-up comedy. Now, I think that's in the spirit of, and in the legacy of like Prince Paul. And Prince Paul, I also heard on Deep Concentration, had a scratch track and a beat track on there. It was one of my favorites on that record. Like Deep Concentration was an incredible turntablist beat record put out by Records, who were based in San Francisco. Had Less Than 6 by Cut Chemist. Keep on referencing that. That shit blew my mind. Finding out like all those turntablists, and Return to the DJ, put out by Bomb Hip Hop, by Bomb Records, which was also based in San Francisco. Dave Paul, Billy Jam, Invisible Scratch Pickles, discovering them, buying Herb magazine with the Scratch Pickles on the cover. Like really, that was like the beginning of like my foray into, you know, old school hip hop culture, and like I was already in it in high school and living in New York and seeing Nonfiction, hearing, you know, Necro's beats. Like Necro's beats were crazy too. You know, Nonfiction's beats were dope. They were rapping over fire boom bap beats, and the way they were rapping was crazy. So that DITC production, it's kind of like the cliched ones that a lot of hip hop boom bap heads who grew up in New York or grew up on that early 90s sound will tell you. Naughty by Nature, I didn't know who was making the beats, but like, you know, Feel Me Flow, but even more so OPP, which by the way, from what I understand, they jacked that beat from a Tony, what was his name? The white dude from Trenton who put out the Breakbeat record with that beat on it. Tony D. Amazing producer, rest in peace. Tony D. made incredible beats and put that out on a breakbeat record, and then they sampled the breakbeat record and used that Jackson 5 ABC sample and all that. But those kinds of beats, like the East Coast beats, yeah. And like I was fucking with like Dark Side of the Moon and Pink Floyd tough, David Bowie, Lou Reed, that kind of early 70s rock, Led Zeppelin. So I was listening to the breaks, and I kind of didn't know it, but also the 70s like aesthetic. I was always, my favorite music comes from typically like the early to mid 60s to like late 70s, early 80s. And that would be the stuff that was being sampled for a lot of boom bap records and East Coast early 90s hip hop. But I was also listening to oldies as a kid. Like I got super deep into oldies as a 9-year-old. I used to buy like at what you call like the swap meet or the flea market oldies like compilations. And I had no idea until I got to California that there was a lowrider oldie thing that like Chicanos and like gangsters were like bumping like 50s, oldies and doo-wop and soul. And like I heard Al Green for the first time on an oldies compilation. And James Brown, I remember the first time I heard that, even though it's hip-hop per se, it is hip-hop, right? And I heard, like, I Feel Good, and I was like, that was my 9th birthday party. We were at a billiards hall, and I put the quarters in the jukebox and played that, and I was like, I don't know what this is, but this is it. Like, This is my jam. So there were several things that, you hear different things over the years as you get older, and especially the deeper you get into it, the more you hear, like, crazy dope shit that just inspires you. But I think those are a lot of my production influences. I was listening to trip hop and the English Bristol sound, like I said, Portishead, Tricky, Daft Punk, so many of those like artists that were putting out stuff. Big Beat in the late 90s. It was basically up-tempo instrumental boom bap. The Wise Guys, DJ Touche goes by Fake Blood as well and makes house records and boom bap still. But like the Wise Guys' first record is amazing. But I first heard their second record first. That's that Say Ooh La La Sassoon. Come on, the Budweiser commercial track, right? It's on the Super Bowl. I was up on that. I was in France. Like I went to France and that they were playing the music videos for like that on TV because France is like super hip hop. And I copped the record, I copped the CD there, and I was like, yo, it starts with the scratch intro. So that became a thing for me on all my records, where I would start rap records every time with a scratch intro. Even if I wasn't, I was picking the cuts out or collaborating with the DJ on the cut.
That's how you hook them, yeah, with the scratch.
Right. And that's my nod, like every record should start with a dope scratch intro. So I did that for a minute. And with the instrumental outro, even if it was a rap record, it's like the credits rolling and like I think it's probably, obviously Pete Rock would be a big influence too. And his like mini little beats he'd do with those like instrumental interludes at the beginning of a track, like The Creator or whatever, or outros with like sick little like loops and breaks, right? So a lot of that, and a lot of listening to like a lot of genres of music. Classical, listening to jazz. I got into jazz in 8th grade, and that was, I think that made it easier for me to understand what I was listening to in terms of like Tribe or, the Beastie Boys on Ill Communication or De La Soul. I mean, man, when I heard De La Soul, like Blue and Mind State, the beats on that are insane. And they have a bunch of live jazz and funk musicians. I think they have like the Meters or other people in the Meters or, groups like that playing on it, right? And Prince Paul, huge influence. Very slept on as being named one of the most important and best producers of all time. The guy's a genius and Automator as well, and Handsome Boy Modeling School. When I got into college, when I heard The Truth, which is a Galt McDermott sample, Coffee Cold, J Live rapping on it, and I don't know the vocalist who sings on it. Like I was like, what is this? And then my homie, his boy came up from, the Inland Empire in Southern California. We literally set up his techniques on bricks to hold them up outside. He had his crates of records, and he played that break, that Galt McDermott Coffee Cold sample that samples The Truth on Handsome Boy Modeling School that, Automator and or Prince Paul sample. I was like, yo, that's where, so that was a jam for me. DJ Shadow's, record on that. The Handsome Boy Modeling School's album, like, that was freshman year of college and was such a big influence. Verth Murphy, Egon. There's so many different groups. Dilated Peoples, J5. I got Ju on CD single. Like, what the hell is that flute sample? what's Newmark and Cut Chemist doing? Like, who are these guys? What are they sampling? Jesus, they can scratch, but they can make killer beats too. So that was big influence. And hearing that each time, each iteration, you know, would get me hyped.
Yo, man. Yo, listen, internets, yo, you are hearing some dope ass stories and some history, some personal history of, you know, Filthy Drummond, man. I'm gonna just say Filthy, Dr. Filthy. How about that?
Call me Filthy. That's the name of my beat tape.
I gotta say Doctor, man, because you know what I mean. You earned that joint, man. So you know what I mean, Dr. Filthy, man. Yo, listen, if y'all like what y'all listening to, man, hit the like, hit the subscribe, share this joint, man. If you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or Deezer, wherever you listening to it, man, go ahead, hit the like, all that type of stuff, man. It just gives me feedback, so I know we're on the right track. Yeah.
Yo, if you're listening on Deezer, send me a DM and I'll send you a sticker pack. I've never met anyone that actually uses Deezer, but like, you know, send me a screenshot. I'll hook you up with a Deezer sticker pack of today's Future Sound stickers. Y'all heard that, yo. So my Deezer fans, like, when I go through stats and stuff like that, I'm like, okay, what are people listening? It's iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Internet Explorer, Deezer, yeah. And I'm like, what? They say Deezer nuts?
Yeah, man. So
the
like,
Deezer nuts are the folks who are listening on Deezer. They're crazy.
Yeah, man.
That's like streaming on Periscope.
Yeah. Oh man, Periscope is.
Or Meerkat.
Holy crap, man.
Sorry,
yo, man. So dope. dope stories, man. And that's the reason why I asked this, man, because, you know, kind of going back in my guest history, man, there's so much emotion of where you were when you heard this or that, or
straight up.
You know what I mean? Like and for you, what I'm listening to right now is you're listening to world music from all around the world, man. It's not just one genre that you're listening to. You listening to, you know what I mean, hip hop. You listening to jazz. You listening to classical. You listening to drum and bass. You listening to, you know what I mean, a whole bunch of different genres, and that shapes how you hear music and then how you create music as well, right?
Yeah, definitely. And you know, the deeper I get in, as I get into my beat making journey, when I'm digging and I'm really digging, I'm also looking for like the most obscure countries I can think of to find their version of disco or psych rock or, you know, popular music between years of 65 and, you know, 83, where you got like Armenian disco, right? Or, you know, Turkish psychedelic rock, like shout out Erkin Koray, right? Or Persian pop music in the 70s was amazing. Shout out Gugush and Haida before her, right? Which is really dope because it creates this circle where I'm looking for that, and then in turn, and I'm learning about other cultures through doing it. But then it also allows me to engage people. Like I can't tell you how many Persian folks I've met, who I'll drop like a Gugush reference and be like, how do you know about Gugush? I was like, oh, what you know about Delcash and Vegan? And then it creates this really beautiful connection where I think people feel seen and heard, and it opens up a whole nother world. And so it's really, it's a feedback cycle in a loop. And I was fortunate enough to travel a lot, and I was getting to, like, I got really deep into French hip hop in high school. And so I knew about that. When I went to France, I was like going record shopping and, you know, picking up Cuddy French, like Italian records. You know, I was traveling to Bosnia and getting, you know, Bosnian and Croatian hip hop and older records as well to sample and being really. So I think it's a beautiful way. And again, I think this is so many people's stories that I've heard about, you know, how they fell in love with hip hop, fell in love with music from around the world. Like you're saying, and I think world music's kind of like a colonial kind of term. But like music from all around the globe, from different cultures and countries, can really connect you and expand your mind and teach you to listen to music differently. So I had that from like my parents valuing music, but also my valuing music in my own way and growing into that, and through the lens of hip hop and beat making and digging and collecting records. So yeah, that was really, really dope.
Yo, would you say that your most impactful moments in your music journey were what's that, middle school, high school, college?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, again, like, like you were saying, like, if you had had beat making, if you had had someone rock up to your spot at like a foster placement or whatever with an MPC and sat down with you for like an hour or 2 hours, one time or maybe repeatedly, like, how would that have changed your trajectory versus where you are now, which is a beautiful place, right? Through all your, whatever your journey and your challenges, whatever along the way that brought you here, right? So I don't know, but like, sitting under the piano is important. Just digging for music in HMV in New York City at, going to the hip hop section and other genres too in HMV, that was an important part. Going away to college, that was a major important part. Meeting other hip hop heads and actively seeking that and knowing. I went to B-Boy Summit in '99 with my homegirl who lived down in LA. And she was a hip hop head too. I met her in Croatia the year before. We went to B-Boy Summit and saw like some of the dopest like breaking, popping, locking battles, right? And I'm being exposed to super underground LA hip hop culture and graph culture and like boutique clothing labels and simultaneous like just like living it, breathing it, and then taking the New York and bringing it to California and whatever. So there's all these different moments that it's hard to say, it's kind of multiple streams of input, but they're all important stages in the development. And I think listening to oldies as a 9-year-old and opening my world up to music that my parents weren't exposing me to as well was important too,
Yeah, I feel the same way, man. Like when moms and the guests have heard me say this, the internets have heard me say this a thousand times, but moms playing the vinyl records, man. I'm seeing her take them out the cases, place it inside of because we had the cover, you had to lift up, you know what I mean? Put the vinyl record in.
Yeah,
place it down, and then you better close the top, because if you don't close the top,
you better protect that vinyl. Protect the needle,
man.
exactly.
So
I know
listen,
exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, listening to all of that, and then listening to the Patti LaBelle's and the Smokey Robinsons and all of that, and then just going up and down the street and people were playing their music like loud, and there was no like, hey, you better turn that down. Like, there's a noise ordinance, it wasn't none of that shit, man. Like, it was play your music. Yeah, I was in Jersey, man, Camden, man. So, yeah.
Damn, man. Camden, bro. Okay.
Yeah, man.
That's across the river from Philly? Is that where that is?
Right over the Ben Franklin Bridge from Philly, man. So, or the Walt Whitman or the Tacoma, Palmyra. Yeah, near Trenton, man. So,
damn.
Yeah, we all over, man. So, yeah, I think that was super influential. That's another reason why I asked that too. Let me ask you this question: the value of that music, right? Because I heard you say with your pops valuing the music, valuing the records.
Yeah.
Do you feel the same way about the music that you hear now? Like, the music that you buy, that you purchase, do you place a sense of value in that music?
I think because we're so overwhelmed with choices and things that we can buy and consume, because there's so much more being produced, it can make it potentially less valuable. I don't want to say less sustainable, but you listen to something, unless you really like it, perhaps less than you did back in the day, and you're less invested in it. That being the case, I was bumping like Richie Cunning, who's one of my favorite current MCs, and he also makes all his own beats. He's one of my favorite producers too, from San Francisco. He put out a record called Big Deal that was amazing, that I was bumping for several months. I got the t-shirt, I was wearing the t-shirt the other day. And I choose actively to support independent artists, local and otherwise, independent artists who are in my scene, in our scene, or whatever. I still buy vinyl with the intent of DJing it and collecting it and getting the free digital download. And I stream, and I also, it's because I make my own music and I'm involved in the community and a scene that I also share it actively. But I don't think that I or many other people listen to music in the same way that we did before Spotify, before how accessible it is. It was so much more valuable. I used to listen to mixes over and over. I used to, like, even in the early digital age, like I had a KALX crazy like underground hip hop breakbeat mix that I used to listen to that was like a 56K MP3 or 82K MP3, which is super lo-fi, again and again with like these dope like Far Side mashup and crazy like, and I knew it by heart, and I didn't care that it was lo-fi, and I was listening to it again and again, because of, like the value of how it was done. But nowadays, even if something's really well done, unless I have it at the top of my liked songs or I'm really intentionally thinking about it or whatever, you can get lost or lose those songs because we have so much constant music coming out, and social media, we're flooded with so much content. So I think it's changed it, but I do still buy vinyl. I buy tapes, artists that I like and that I want to support, and I play certain songs or beats on repeat again and again and again and again, right? And I'll listen to beat tapes, or I'll listen to beats like this dude from Poland. I would listen to his beats, his MPC 2000 or 2000 XL S950 beats. I ended up meeting him because I went to Poland with the U.S. State Department doing this hip-hop diplomacy thing I did last year. I went to his city and I invited him into my beat making academy that I helped run for like a week in the city, and it was incredible that I got to meet this guy whose beats I would listen to, study, and literally emulate. Hey, what's up?
Yeah.
Low End Theory beats. Shout out to Low End Theory and Daughters. I hope she's learning about Low End Theory.
Yeah. She be riding with Daddy, so she be listening.
Yeah, she's getting exposed. Oh yeah, you remember when I used to ride with Dad in his car? You play all those damn beat tapes.
Yeah.
Dad,
she gonna remember it. Yeah.
Great. You listen to something else. Hey, can I ask her? Do you like listening to the music that your dad plays, or would you put on different stuff?
He said, do you like listening to the music your dad plays, or do you like listening to different stuff?
Listening to music that you play.
Listening to music I play. Hey.
Nice. Well, tell her Dad's got good taste in it.
He said I got good taste. You agree? That's what's up. Give me that.
That's fire. Does she make beats too?
She be trying, right? So she has an iPad where she has GarageBand in it. I'm about to download like Koala.
Yep.
Because she can start with that, and then I have a what do you call that? A pad controller. So I have a pad controller that she can
plug in.
Actually touch, physical touch and everything like that. But
yeah,
she be into different stuff. When she like get an itch, she'll like go in and be like, "Hey, I want to make music," type of thing. But
that's fire.
Lately, she ain't been making no music.
It's gotta come from the heart.
She might make some beats over the Christmas, man. So we'll see.
Okay. Christmas beat tape.
Ask mommy for some jelly beans. You don't know that?
You say you give me them.
I said yes, but now ask mommy. Man.
You give
Tell her
me
daddy said yes. I'm doing an interview, man. Come on.
a bowl.
Huh?
I could just go grab them and put them in a bowl.
No, go ask mommy.
Hey,
what do you mean ask
have some
mom?
jelly beans and enjoy
What do you
them.
mean ask mom?
You trying to get me in trouble,
No, I'm not.
Yes, I'm a sucker. Internet, I'm a sucker. All right, go ahead. Go get your jelly beans.
Hey, that's a good dad. That's a really good dad.
She be hitting me with the eyes, yo. I'm like,
I know.
All right, but yeah, okay. Sorry about that, man. But, oh man, I lost my next question. But I'm going to.
Me too. Yeah.
But okay, all right. So here's my segue to my next question, which is, with your wealth of, music learning and music creation and event curating and things like that, man. So, and we have some mutants, some beat mutants that are like on their own journey in music creation. What would be something that you would recommend that they either watch, listen to, or read? And then I think Cryptic One said he said something else too. he added a fourth one. Yeah, he added a fourth one. I gotta remember.
I haven't seen the interview. I'm just guessing he said Dilla time.
Yeah, he said read, watch, listen to. Oh man, I can't remember it right now. But hey, yeah, any three of those, like, what would you recommend that they listen to or read or watch?
I would say there's several films about beat making and sampling that I think are really essential, kind of classic. There's one called Sample This, which is about it's about Apache and birth of hip hop, but it's also about sampling. And it's not too long. It's great. We show it to the kids when we teach it Today's Future Sound as a way for them to understand sampling and the birth of hip hop, where it came from, the Bronx, the framework, the context. Also, if you haven't seen the movie Scratch by Doug Prey, it's classic. It's amazing. It's super dope. And that will let you know about like Future Primitive and a lot of the San Francisco Bay Area turntablism stuff I was talking about in LA and New York as well. It's, the X-Men became executioners. Also Copyright Criminals, about sampling. And I mean, again, it's older, but it's still similar kind of interesting issues. And it's about beat making and turntablism and hip hop. Hip hop evolution, obviously, at the different subgenres of hip hop and the kind of chronology of hip hop and different subgenres, regional styles, things around the country and around the world. I would also say, like, on the Today's Future Sound YouTube channel, we have 112 episodes of the Global Beat Cypher with some of the dopest sample flip beat battles you've ever seen. We were doing it live, starting in COVID, before anyone else was doing the sample flip, beat ciphers. Like, we started it, and and kept going for 110, 109 weeks straight. We have 112 episodes total. We got some of the best beat makers in the world, flipping samples, going head to head, flipping the same samples, multi-round beat battles. Also on my YouTube channel, the Philip Drummond YouTube channel, there's a lot of old school beat battles footage that I put on, and beat ciphers and beat showcases that I put up. I started a monthly beat battle that I did for 13 years straight, starting in 2006, the month after Donuts came out and after Dilla passed. We did a beat battle starting then and did it monthly in San Francisco and Oakland, but mostly in San Francisco for 13 years. And I've been essentially doing monthly beat battles, beat showcases, and beat ciphers since 2006. And there's a lot of footage on the Today's Future Sound, I would say mainly YouTube, but that we also have on the SoundCloud, Today's Future Sound SoundCloud, just soundcloud.com/Today's Future Sound, and today'sfuturesound.bandcamp.com. We have the beat tapes from those. Now, there's footage that there's only 2, 3, maybe 4 clips released from this, but back in 2013 or 10, I'm trying to remember, Lush One and I did a 2-day event. He did the rap battles, but I did 2 days of beat battles. And we're talking 1-on-1, 3-round, sample flip beat battles. DiBiase versus Poetic in 4 rounds, with Lithium by Nirvana being the bonus, overtime room that I knew was going to happen. DiBiase versus Jeffrey. And Jeffrey's the one who exposed Soulja Boy using the garage band, stock samples for Crank That or whatever the hit was. So great beat maker, great dude. I had them. We also did one thing I used to do was car stereo beat battles, right? So we did it outside through people's car stereos. So I have DiBiase versus Jeffrey. I have some other ones. Ness Lee, who's known as to be one of the best battle rappers in the Southeast, and I think around in general, is also equally talented at making beats and producing and making music. Battled Chase Moore, and if you know the Fresh Coast scene or Lush One, or Chase Moore is an incredibly talented beat maker, also very talented MC who used to battle too. But Chase Moore versus Ness Lee, that footage is on the internet. Soul Eternity versus my boy Cambo. Cambo now produces for Doja Cat and has, I don't know, 53 million or billions, whatever it is, streams on his Spotify. That's a homie who has also battled DiBiase in the Iron Chef Simple Flip beat battle we did with Lewiston, based out of, I think they're out of Birmingham, England. We shared the samples, right? We did a kind of collaborative sample flip beat battle back in 2006 or 2007. That footage is up with DiBiase and Cambo and other producers, Chex Mex. Watch the Red Bull beat battles from back in the day. That shit was fire. I was in a couple of them. I never made it past the first round, but that was in the hyphy days when boom bap, I think, was not going to advance you and whatever, man. I got to meet Vitamin D. I helped, Vitamin D and Jake One for 3 years in a row to kind of, come up with a roster of people who participated in the Bay Area beat battles. My little homie Cambo won 3 years in a row and beat Marco Polo in the finals of the nationals and took second place. Like there's so many talented beat makers in that I discovered, and in the beat battles I've done over the years. We had DJ Dahi was in our beat battles in San Francisco, who works with Khalil and Dre and all of them down in LA. Incredibly nice guy. DiBiase, obviously, he used to take the bus up from LA and make beats on the 404 on the bus and come win the battles. It was crazy. So there's beat tapes on our Bandcamp that you can download, including that we did LA versus the Bay, the DiBiase Poetic. That was 27 one-on-one sample flip beat battles over 2 days. Trox, who produced his breakout with 50 Cent, who's a big name in production, battled his doppelganger. And, I'll have tracks on there on the free beat tape, the LA versus the Bay beat tape. So yeah, there's a lot there that I would point to in terms of on the Today's Future Sound social media channels and Bandcamp and SoundCloud, on my YouTube. I think just watching beat battles, beat ciphers from around the globe is really inspiring, and there's a lot of content on Instagram that I think is really dope. And we do live streams of all our beat ciphers on Instagram for Today's Future Sound and Beat Cipher OAK, like the Oakland-based beat ciphers. We did some down in LA recently. Beat Cipher, hashtag Beat Cipher SP with organic beat sessions. Matty J, Taki, the homies down there. And wherever I go in the world, I try to do beat ciphers and beat battles. So I've done beat ciphers and beat battles on 6 continents. I got a plan for how to get down to Antarctica and try to do a Antarctic beat battle beat cipher through the Chilean National Research Team. So look for that in 2026 or 27. That's bucket list. Well, I've done beat battles on all 7 continents, and there's a lot of stuff on the Instagram is what I'm saying, and other resources. I mean, there's so much out there. Like Cryptic One, Crip Uno is amazing. Toru has a Producer Head podcast at Fire. And Cryptic was on there recently. Toru's doing great stuff. Medic, the homie in New York, who's another, TFS kind of family member and volunteers and teaches with us, had I think he still has it, or had a music production podcast that was super dope. There's so much out there in terms of resources, and whoever's part of the beat scene. Flip a Beat Club is always doing stuff all over the country, doing amazing beat ciphers and beat showcases, and they do live streams. I think that their talent is deep. Shout out Acclimated Assassin that runs the Austin chapter of that. And then other beat platforms. That was the other thing we tried to do with Global Beat Ciphers. Always have on different platforms of beat ciphers and beat platforms. So if you go back and watch those episodes, there's got in-depth interviews with Doug Infinite about Chicago underground hip hop, about No ID and Kanye back in the day, like being 13 in Doug's studio in Chicago with his ASR 10, sitting in the corner. There's a lot of history there and a lot of underground nerdy details. Buckwild talking about DITC. So all of that and more. There's just so much great stuff out there nowadays.
Man.
Hold on. I got to plug.
I was getting ready to ask you about what's that book? What's the book that you right there?
Music Inclusion for Healing in Schools and Beyond. So I think this is my first book chapter, maybe second book chapter, with my collaborators, Dr. Alexander Crook. Dr. Raphael Travis was one of the publishers of this. That was the guy you met at Texas State, who started the Create Lab there. Has been an essential part of our publishing peer-reviewed journal articles, scientific articles on the impact of therapeutic beat making. Therapeutic beat making is my life's work, using beat making as a therapeutic and educational intervention and modality. That's what we do at Today's Future Sound, my nonprofit. We work in elementary, middle, and high schools, juvenile detention settings, community settings, and the beat ciphers that we do in the community like that you were at, I believe are therapeutic and useful and pro-social for adults. We talk about everything that we do at Today's Future Sound. We even have, this is the first time we've actually published in an academic journal or book article, the beat tape covers.
Wow.
Because that's a big part of what we do with kids is to help them. This is like a beat tape cover, right? This is, I don't know if you can see it, but, and we have that all the kids get to design and conceptualize their own covers, right? And so we publish that because that's an important part of the therapeutic process, to have kids actually be able to make like really official, like dope beat tapes that sound good, that have dope custom artwork they designed. We go through, the chapter is about, well, it's called, it's dope. It's called Global Inclusion and Healing Through Therapeutic Beat Making. And it says, this chapter offers a narrative journey through the mission of one hip-hop nonprofit, Today's Future Sound, to offer opportunities for individual and community healing through arts and culture. Unique to this journey is how different levels of community have been integrated into a cohesive vision to foster a healthy, connected global society. So we're talking about all the workshops that we do across the world with kids, with adults, beat making workshops, beat ciphers, the global beat cipher, which was the online thing, and we also have done events in life to gather community members. We had DJ Dossel flew from Chile to New York City for a 3-day event that we did to gather everyone. It was called Together for the First Time. 3-day event in New York City, getting all the homies together from all over the country. In New York, we did that in Cali. People flew from all over the United States and internationally to San Francisco and Oakland. So yeah, I would encourage you to grab a copy of this. There's a coupon code for it that I'll see if I can dig up, but it's 30% off. But it's a really dope book that looks at hip hop and electronic music and so-called urban music. And how it's been used for healing, education, inclusion, therapeutic, educational, pro-social, applications and uses across the globe. And yeah, I would also say Dr. Raphael Travis's seminal book, and I'm biased because Today's Future Sound is mentioned in it, but The Healing Power of Hip Hop. If you want to understand in a really nuanced, explicit way how hip hop is educational, how it's therapeutic, how it's empowering. It goes from preventative stuff all the way into working with people who've exposed to trauma or need therapy or whatever in a multitude of different ways. Therapeutic beat making, hip hop therapy. It's an incredible book. I think any hip hop head should read that. The Healing Power of Hip Hop by Dr. Raphael Travis. Absolutely worth it. Explains everything in detail, and it gives a lot of arguments, especially to like the arguments perhaps that people make about hip hop being like negative or, sexist, objectifying women, being money centric, all these kind of like, I think very one dimensional and not very thoughtful arguments that miss kind of the point of hip hop and the larger kind of conversations. He addresses that too in a really smart and detailed way. It's an incredible book, The Healing Power of Hip Hop. So cop that. Beat Tips Manual is another classic one. Dilla Time, obviously. Yeah, and man, there's so much. There's so much out there. There's so many resources.
Yeah, there's a lot. Where can the internet? Well, and I'm gonna get the link for this too. So when I put it in the description of the show, like a good portion of everything that Filthy is talking about, man. Dr. Filthy is talking about. I'm gonna put it in the description. So all y'all gotta do is click the link, boom, and it'll take you right to it. Whether it's in podcast form or it's on YouTube, you'll still be able to see what he's talking about, support what he's talking about, right? Because that book, because I was noticing it the whole show, so I was like, yo, I can't wait to get to this question.
This one, yeah.
Yeah, so
I'll live on the push.
Yeah, a little on the push, man. So, my next question, because I got to talk to you about your music, right? You do a lot with Today's Future Sound. You do a lot with the Global Beat Cipher, which is bringing a whole bunch of like kids, is bringing adults together. You know what I mean? So community is what I see you as. Like you're a community-minded person. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
your music. You've been creating music for a while. You've been putting out music for a while, but then you recently did something that I think only one other person that's been a guest on this show um, has done, which is one beat a day for 365 days, right? And you completed that challenge. So can we start off like why did you even decide to do that challenge? And what was the emotional like toll or roller coaster that you went through trying to complete the challenge?
Man, yeah, it's a good way to phrase it. I'm on day like 389 or 390 now, but the person who really inspired me to do that, there's two people, but the main one is DJ Prominent, who's a really good friend of mine who did the 365 a few years ago and is one of my best friends, and we just talk for hours about plugins on the phone and, you know, stuff like that. And seeing his and hearing about his inspired me. But it started with a 30-day challenge in Australia, not this past August, but the August before. And I decided I was going to do a 30-day challenge. And also, the other person I know who did it is the homie in Wales. Oh, God, his name's escaped me. Bryn Morgan, who's really amazing beat maker, too. Plays instruments. Met in England. We did a beat cypher. So those guys inspired me. But I figured I would start with a 30-day one. And I completed 30 days and I said, well, I'm going to go for 100. And then I said, well, 100, I'm going to go for 365. Like, I might as well. This is keeping me accountable. It's leading to a lot of collaborations. It's making me more prolific than ever. It's akin to what I was doing with the Global Beat Cypher, where I would make, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 beats a week for each cypher each week. It was kind of continuing that flow, which led to some of the best output and increase in sample flipping capacity and ability. But man, it was so hard. It was so difficult. I sacrificed so much sleep and time, and it really affected a lot of other parts of my life. But I'm proud that I did it, and it was a big achievement. But it's brutal when you're doing it for social media, for Instagram. And I posted on my YouTube channel and my Facebook as well. And while I had TikTok, I was posting it there as well. Because like making a video for each beat is like 2 to 8 times as much work. I would stay up after I made my beat, like hours and hours editing the video, making the video for Instagram. So I learned a lot about editing videos, shooting video, in the process, and making beats, collaborating with people, using my plugins, using drum sounds, doing, that I maybe lived on my hard drive I didn't use before. Tapping into different techniques, learning more about music technique and music theory, pushing my snare drums early instead of late to get that Dilla feel. I was always a late snare drum guy if I was going to swing it, but I did that for the first time, doing stuff I normally wouldn't do, using plugins I wouldn't use. I'm putting all the damn plugins to use, it's like working out. If you do your push-ups every day or you work out every day, you do your stretches, you fall into a habit of doing that, and it can feel like you're missing something or it doesn't feel right if you haven't done it. And that was a good brain exercise and body exercise and, intellectual musical exercise. And it led to doing a lot of cool stuff that I wouldn't have done otherwise, and having a routine. And, look, my dad passed several months ago now, but like I even did it through his passing and through the time that he was sick, in the hospital with cancer and after. And I think that was an important part of maintaining a routine and a kind of momentum and inertia and a structure for myself as a beat maker, and also to demonstrate like I'm a beat making nonprofit, therapeutic beat making. I'm a practitioner of hip hop and of beat making, and I really want to be about it. And I'm not just a psychologist, just an executive director. Like I live what I believe in and what I talk about. So that's with the beat ciphers too. And I'm really about it. And I really want to be able to flex and be skilled. And when I teach, I want to come from a place of skill and knowledge, and learn as well, and be an ongoing, being a student. So I think it was all of those things, and wanting to have a better output. I still need to put out a beat tape 3 years later. I'm about to put out a beat tape. So I have a project with DJ Ambush, aka Ambata, who's a really dope DJ, beat maker, MC. Has a fashion line, puts on shows, curates music, has a radio show. One of the dopest people that I know. also super humble dude. And we went to Australia together back in 2019, and he came on tour with me, and we did shows together, and we hung out, we kicked it. And that was when the first iteration of Serato Studio came out. He made one of the only beat that he produced on our record, which it's called Illinger, is our group. He made in the living room of my homie's place in Sydney while I was making another beat that would become the first track that we did together. But that's a rap album, right? But and it's got crazy collaborations on beats, like with Vo or Vu, however you want to call him, and a lot of other really talented beat makers. But the record we're putting out leading into that's kind of like the prequel, is an instrumental record from Illinger that's curated by him. I made all the beats on it, but he's chosen it and curated it and ordered it. And so that's like the Illinger beat tape. So I'm about to drop that. And then I got a rap record, the Illinger album that he raps on and did all the cuts on, and we have some crazy collaborations. And then, I got other stuff coming out. Like I got a record with Defy, who's a really amazing MC from Santa Fe. He lives in Santa Fe now, but from New Mexico. That's one of my other best produced records I've ever made. But I'm sitting on these beat tapes, but all these things, especially the record with Defy and the beat tape, came, and the other record, a lot of them came out of both the Global Beat Cipher that I did for 3 years and the 365 Challenge. So now I can share these beats. It's leading to a lot of other projects, and so I'm being able to use these beats that I've made, especially the better ones, for projects and maybe for beat tapes. And I think it helped me artistically, and it's also helped me to lead into putting out my music more. So I've collaborated with like Best Paul, and he's another homie from the Global Beat Cipher and from the TFS community. Dropped a single this morning, a lo-fi boom bap single called Next to Nothing. And I've been putting out records with him, singles with him on, he or myself solo on a monthly basis, most of which have come from the 365. And some of those are collaborative beats, collaborations. Some of them are just solo beats that I did. But that's also led to, I think, as an artist, being able to put out my work. And you're putting it out when you're putting it on Instagram too, but it's not the same as putting it on officially on streaming platforms, like whether it's Spotify or Apple Music, or releasing it on Bandcamp and that kind of stuff. So that's also been an outcome, as well as increased skill sets, knowing more about music and the accomplishment of it, which is really dope. And I feel like that also kind of gets your name out, and people kind of, you can get some props for it too,
First of all, I know your pops will be proud, man. I know he is proud of you, man, for your works and what he's doing, man. And we here, man, we send our condolences to you and your family. I don't know how you pushed through. I don't know how I was seeing you a few weeks ago, still doing your work, still doing what you're going to do, man. Like, what? I would have had to take a step back and just, just take a little bit of a break. But you pushed through, man. How did you, where did that come from? How did you do that? Yeah.
Again, I think the structure of having that as an outlet, as a therapeutic outlet, as an outlet to express myself, was really important during his sickness. I think having work and instead of just getting stuck in, feeling overwhelmed or whatever, can be really helpful. And then I think there's also grieving is a process, right? And sometimes I can get really stuck in work or, the 365 or making beats, and that may even take away from the grieving that I need to do. So I think it's a balance between using it as a therapeutic tool and using it as a way to structure my life. And also, to distract me, I think. So it's multidimensional, it's complex. But I think it helped. Like, I made a song called I Don't Know Why, and I literally sang on it because I felt like it, and I felt like I had to sing it. I had to just speak it, on a beat that I made. And I sang on the beat, and it was about I don't know why. I don't know why my dad got sick. I don't know why he had to get sick and to die. But that was me, from my heart, my soul, my body, my pain, elaborating that for myself and for anyone else who was listening and understood it or whatever. And I think that's a way that we communicate and share that and process and move through it. And that's why I'm a really big advocate for therapeutic beat making, what we do at Today's Future Sound. And I believe strongly in it. I've seen how it works for me. I've seen how it works for other people. I think making beats can be a beautiful, constructive outlet. It can be like anything. Like you can also be, it can have its negative impact too, and taking away from, adult responsibilities, and it definitely interfered with my sleep, and has probably interrupted other stuff. But it's also, I think, overall been really positive. So I think that was something. And doing the T Beats Argentina project, where we went down to Argentina in the summer, was also a good thing. Like after a few weeks after my dad passed, I went down there. Didn't mean I wasn't suffering. It didn't mean it didn't affect me or my relationships or my day to day. But I think it was also good to have a purpose and a mission. And I think this kind of thing gives me structure and a mission, aside from, and in addition to work related to it, but separate from it, in my own practice of making music for myself as an artist. And I think the 365, both the Global Beat Cypher, doing the weekly flips for 3 years, and then also even more so the 365, was me stepping into being an artist, saying, you know what, I'm not just going to put my art aside for my nonprofit, running Today's Future Sound. I'm going to engage in it and treat it with the proper respect, and respect myself as an artist, and put my art out there and release it. I don't want it to just sit on a hard drive or whatever. And I think that's an important part of, related to the nonprofit, but separate from it as well.
Man, super strong, bruh, super strong, man. And there's been a few other guests that have gone through similar losses as well, man. And I asked them, how they persevered through that. And once again, internets, man, there's no timetable for healing, and processing these emotions, because, some people will be like, oh, all right, it happened, get over it, type of thing. But that's not human beings. Like, that's not how we are, man. Especially if they meant something to you. You're gonna notice that they're missing. Your body's gonna know. Your subconscious, your mind is going. Everything is gonna know, man. So you gotta process the emotions safely, and hopefully you have a support system, a good support system that can rally around you during those times. Because
it's tough, man. I mean, I'm still in denial. A lot of people I spoke to who had similar losses have said, man, it takes 6 months, a year to really I was in denial. I'm still in denial, and like I find myself like I'll want to share something with my dad, like send him a text or share something that I've done, or music or whatever, or just something funny, and I'll be, oh fuck, he's dead, like that. I'll get like the metaphorical gut punch every now and then, or people will say something, or I'll remember something. So I think it's a process. I think it's also about stepping into it, which I need to do more of, because I can definitely, stay manically busy doing, and then, but it's a journey. I'm in my own therapy. I've been in my own therapy for 20 years, maybe 21 years. I'm trying to remember, 20 years now, as of 2024. It's been one of the most useful things I've ever done in my life, as a therapist myself, as a person, as, whatever. We all got our baggage. I think that's useful. I don't just think that therapeutic beat making is going to do it for me. But yeah, having a support system. But yeah, man, beats has been so important for me. And that's why I love to share it with other folks. That's why, I wish I had this when I was a kid. That's our slogan, because that's what we wish. That's what I wished. And I really am passionate about sharing that with other folks. And it's what I need to make life even more meaningful and fun.
Speaking of that, and these are my last 4 or 5 questions, man, because I know you got things to do. But and I thank you for your time. Internet right now. We're talking to Phil, aka Dr. Egon, and Dr. Gann, Elliot Gann, who's doing Today's Future Sound, nonprofit, but then also Global Beat Cypher. You know what I mean? So, but I wanted to talk to you about profession, which is not psychotherapy, but therapy, right? So, as somebody that's doing therapy themselves, has been doing it for years, we don't talk enough as a beat making community, as a music community. We don't talk enough about it. It just started coming up in
With the
raps,
rappers.
where our top MCs were starting to talk about it, right?
Yeah.
With Jeezy, with Nas, with
Kendrick.
who else? Kendrick. He made a whole album
And the homie from
about
Chicago,
that.
what's his name? Yeah. Like, yeah. And
Royce the 5'9"
Charlemagne.
started talking about Charlemagne, right? So, what I mean, as a community that's living life, you got to live life. You got life responsibilities, but then also you got the other end of the spectrum, which is you're doing, you're creating, whether it be art, whether it be music, whether it be writing books, reading books, and all that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
How important is therapy to human society? You say that's a very general, broad question.
Yeah,
but
I mean, look, I wish that everyone had a therapist. If they're willing to go, you have to go on your own terms and be ready to go. But I think it's so useful, and the reason that having a therapist and being in your own therapy is different from talking to friends, your partner, your siblings, whomever, is because it's designated a completely different relationship with a different dynamic. This is someone whose job it is to listen to you, who listens closely and is professionally trained to help you understand yourself and learn about yourself for an hour every week. Most spouses, partners, like if you're lucky, you can listen for 5 to 15 minutes without phasing out. Maybe more, but then they take on some of your toxicity, and you can't be completely honest with them. You can't say whatever you want in total confidence, right? The dynamic is completely different when you know it's totally confident, and your job is not to please that person, not to, you can be totally honest. You can be honest about your faults, your shortcomings, your wishes, your fantasies, your greatest fears in a way that I don't really think you can honestly do that or effectively do that in the same way that you can with anyone else in the world, even a best friend who knows you incredibly well. You can't really be totally honest about being greedy, being petty, being resentful and contemptuous, being proud of certain things that you're not supposed to or not allowed to or can't talk about with other people in a completely different way. That person is a professional, trained to help to understand the human mind and knows you, who doesn't have a secondary relationship that changes the dynamics of the relationship. And they're a trained professional. I, as a therapist, been going to my therapist for 20 years. It's changed my life. And it continues to change my life. And I continue to work on myself and all my shortcomings and baggage and whatever to try to be a more effective, honest, healthier person. And it's tough. It's a long-term thing, but I think it's worth it. It'll pay you back in every dimension of your life if you can engage in it. And I think that as men, we're taught, that we're emotionally weak if we share our feelings and speak them, right? And that we'll be, criticized, shamed, etc., that we're not supposed to. But that if you hold that in as a man or as a person, you just end up acting it out in other destructive and self-destructive ways in your life in other ways, right? Whether it be undermining yourself, not allowing yourself to succeed, taking it out on your kids, on your partner, on your friends, and bearing that resentment and toxicity. And you can take that into therapy, talk about it, project that onto your therapist, who then have to deal with it and who can get to know you in that capacity. So I think it's a profoundly different thing, and it will have effects not only on you, mentally, emotionally, but I think the physical, because the mind-body connection is so closely tied together. The stress level that we experience when we're experiencing something that's stressing us out, right? Like, the metaphors that we use for like heartache, when we break up with someone, we literally feel that in our heart and in our body, and there's the trauma of that loss, right? And I think we need to process these losses and and it's not to say you can't talk about good stuff in therapy too. I made sure that I had a therapist who had a sense of humor so that we could laugh at shit. And he's taught me to think about like humility and being humble with myself, being able to laugh at myself and laugh at my own pettiness or whatever, right? And then being able to step back and be like, oh man, you're doing that again.
Mhm.
You need to do that, really? So that's my plug for therapy. And it may not be for everyone or for everyone right off the bat, but to have someone who will actually listen to you. And if
Mhm.
you're willing to learn about because it's learning about yourself. Meditating is one thing. It can be incredibly useful, and you can come to accept thoughts like it in a non-judgmental way if you're doing a certain kind of like Buddhist or whatever meditation. But I think it's very different to be able to have your unconscious reflected back to you, and to be listened to is so underrated. And to have reflected back to you what you're saying in a dedicated way with someone who's there professionally to do that is completely different from a partner or a friend, and it is a profound experience that can change you mentally, physically, spiritually. If you're into that, I couldn't speak highly of it enough. And there's less and less stigma around it as more and more rappers, men come out and step into that and say, like, I'm in therapy and it helped me. Charlemagne will tell you straight up and tell everyone it helped him, and so will I can't remember if it was like Lil Durk, or that other rapper.
It might have been Lil Durk, yeah.
Yeah, from
Yeah.
Chicago, moved to LA, was talking
Yeah.
about it.
Yep.
So plug therapy. If you want to make better beats, get in therapy.
Yo. Here's a part A to that question, because there's going to be people listening to this like they thinking about it. I just want you to talk about some prerequisites when you're searching for a therapist. What should we be looking for when we're searching for a therapist, so we can, actually open up and learn about ourselves and things like that?
I have ambivalent feelings, very mixed feelings about the online therapy. I do mine virtually. I started in person with my therapist. So I'm not saying that virtual therapy is bad or whatever, but I have some mixed feelings about some of the services that are being provided through some of the online therapy service providers. But ultimately, look, I'm not saying you couldn't get a good therapist that you like there. You totally could, and it could be extremely helpful. I think it's like BetterHelp or something like that. I'm just a little skeptical. But the most important thing, and this goes along with like understanding like therapeutic beat making, why it and how it's effective. The most important thing for good therapeutic, the number one predictor of positive therapeutic outcome across all therapies, all kinds of therapies, theoretical orientations, etc., is the relationship. You have to find someone that you can relate to, that you can have a relationship with, that you can trust, right? Building that rapport. So it may not be the first or second therapist that you come across. You might have to shop around for therapists. You might, and then look, there are going to be some people too who maybe are so ambivalent about doing therapy that they're going to make it impossible for any therapist to help them because they feel so conflicted about it. And that's just an issue they're going to have to tackle themselves or with a therapist, right? But I think it's so important to find someone that you like, that you trust, that you feel comfortable with, that you have a relationship with, because everything else is based on that. And that's, talking about the therapeutic beat making model, the development of the relationship through beat making, that what we do with kids, that's the building of the relationship through something that's culturally responsive, something that's familiar, right? So you may, for some, like if you're of a certain ethnicity, maybe you want a therapist from the same ethnic background who maybe has had a similar, not to say everyone from the same ethnicity has had the same experience, because they haven't, right? Depending on if you're first generation, second generation, whatever, or whatever, right? It's not like, monolithic, but it can also be important. Like maybe to you, it's important to have someone from the same religious background who can understand some of the quirks, the religious quirks or struggles you're dealing with, or similar ethnic background, or like similar socioeconomic. I don't know. So you might, you interview therapists, you see who works for you. I mean, what is it? Little Durk was talking about how he had an upper middle class white young female therapist, and that worked for him. Because it didn't maybe make him as defensive, or he felt he could be emotionally vulnerable with her. So maybe it doesn't have to be, but it's whoever you feel comfortable with, whoever you can relate to, who works for you. I have this collaborative of hip hop therapists and trauma therapists, who are super dope. And my homegirl, Brittany Williams, you should follow her online. I think it's BC Williams or BCLW Williams she's on TikTok and on Instagram. Super hip hop therapist, and has a practice with all POC, with all folks of color. And she's someone that I would refer people to in a heartbeat. She's amazing. And if you're in Philly, and if you're a person of color in the Black community there, and you don't have a lot of money, there is one of the dopest trauma therapists and the dopest people I know, who's another friend and collaborator and colleague. It's called Sankofa Healing Clinic, and her name is Jackie Williams, and she is one of the dopest trauma therapists I've ever met, and does incredible work. Works in the local jail. Has come with us to Chile to do therapeutic beat making down there. She's amazing. Sankofa Healing Clinic in Philly, amazing therapist, and supervises really talented therapists, mostly Black therapists and therapists of color. So I'm happy to give referrals and recommendations. But it's really about that. It's about finding someone who you trust, who you like, who you can relate to, and just trying to go in with an open mind and understanding that it's going to be scary or anxiety provoking. But the more you can make yourself vulnerable and be willing to explore that and not judge yourself, but step back and understand that's just you, and have self-compassion. Having self-compassion is the essential part of healing from trauma and healing and growth. Being able to be, and that's kind of goes along with the humility I was talking about, that I talk about with my therapist, and that he's talked about with me, is being able to have a bit of humility and step outside yourself and kind of laugh at yourself, be like, damn. Oh, Elliot, come on now. We're oh man, that again? Okay. Self-compassion, humility, related to humility, humor, right? But also being open to working through things and understanding that we're going to keep on repeating these self-destructive or undermining or negative patterns in all aspects of our lives if we don't address it, if we don't really come face to face with it. And I got my own stuff too. I'm not a perfect person. I have relationships that need mending and healing, and where I've screwed up, and I'm trying to look at myself and trying to do better. And even in your everyday interactions, work, personal, social, your social circles, I know I can be better, and I'm trying to be better and grow, and I think everyone else can. And I know hella people in today's Future Sound staff and former staff who we're all about the same age, in our either late 30s or early 40s, and most of us are in therapy. The world's a crazy place. It can be a wonderful place, but it can be a crazy, unforgiving place. And therapy helps us to make sense of the world and ourselves, and understand why we keep on doing that thing, or why we get into situations where people keep on doing, maybe things to us. We allow that to happen, and how we can avoid that, and how we can be more. I just think it's just going to help you in every realm of your life be more successful. And we can make excuses. I can't afford it, and you can afford it. It's the best investment that you can make, is in investing yourself. Is a cliche that people say. And there's low sliding scale therapies that you can get at training universities, even online stuff, etc. I'm happy to help people look for resources and think about it. So I would just strongly encourage everyone to do that, and to look after yourselves, and be open to learning about yourself, because that's dope. Knowledge of self, knowledge of culture, knowledge of history. That's fifth element of hip hop. Knowledge of self, knowledge of culture, right? Knowing about yourself, where you come from.
Yep.
I'm an Eastern European upper middle class white Jew, and that's part of my history. I got to accept whatever shame I carry with that as well, and it's part of my identity. And I've been able to step into that and integrate that more and own that. And I got to know my history, and there's plenty of trauma in my family, and the more I learn about it, the more I learn about that trauma and that intergenerational trauma. And I'm trying to do what I can to, relieve that and heal it, and not perpetuate that in the world.
All about breaking the cycles, man, and taking care of self. I think the pandemic kind of spotlighted that more about, just taking care of self is the best thing you can do for others, right? Because if you at 50% and everybody else is still trying to pull from you, it's only a little bit before you break, and then who knows what happens after that, man. So thank you for talking about that, man. That's definitely a major part of, you know, why I even started this podcast is just the different stories, but then there's also the lessons, the jewels that you've been dropping this whole time that we've been talking, man. Invaluable, man, and they gonna live on forever. The aliens gonna hear this and be like, damn, do I need to go to therapy, yo? Like,
I hope so. I hope the aliens go to there. Look, man. I'm Elliot, and Elliot had ET, right? Phone home.
Elliot, yeah.
ET was calling his people and calling his therapist. You know, the big cell.
Yeah, man. So and this is what I'm getting into. Our instrumental section of the episode, right? So, you know, you got your music. You about to come out with a beat tape soon, hopefully.
Yeah.
Probably 2024. And then because you're a busy man, and then we got to talk about this today's feature sound team, which is I think 16 of y'all. 16 of y'all.
It really varies from time to time. We got a lot of volunteers in a lot of different places in New York and, you know, Texas, here in California, Southern California, Australia, Latin America, South America, Central America. So but there's a core group of us who are active in the Bay Area teaching right now. And, you know, other chapters get activated when I go to other places. And then there's other programs that we've launched. Like we just launched a program with the Today's Future Sound workshop in Atlanta, Georgia at K-Pace Elementary. And I brought in, you know, John Robinson, Lil Cy from Science of Life, and his brother Invisible Hands, you know, both incredible beat makers and hip hop educators. Especially John has been doing it with Jay Rawls from Lone Catalyst, right? Who's a doctor of education now. We had Nestle there, a bunch of other people, like really dope beat makers from Atlanta. But then, you know, go to New York and I work with, you know, Dr. Mustilo from the Global Beat Cipher community and Today's Future Sound family. Cryptic One has came and taught with us a couple weekends ago in Brooklyn. So we've really, you know, we've got a lot of family, but you got like really active people that you'll see like in our videos, annual fundraiser video for Today's Future Sound, year-end annual fundraiser video. Lax the Monk, who's teaching finger drumming in multiple different elementary, middle, and high school classrooms in 2 different juvenile detention centers, juvenile halls here in the Bay Area, doing incredible work as an amazing finger drummer, beat maker, engineer, great guy, great performer. You know, you got like the Egon Brain Parts, from formerly of Bossosaurus, who's also teaching in the juvenile hall and our other programs, who's studying to become a therapist as well. And, you know, like other amazing instructors, Cosmic, who works in our elementary and middle school programs as well. You know, we got a lot of really dope staff. And like Best Paul is kind of like one of our tech people that supports us in terms of testing plugins that we get donated, showing us how to use it. DJ Prominent supports on that end too. So we got a lot of folks and a lot of volunteers, you know, and we're in the schools, we're in the juvenile detention and community settings, doing therapeutic beat making, doing educational, you know, beat making, hip hop education, hip hop therapy. You know, if people want to see that, they can go on our Instagram, they can go on our YouTube, check out the year-end annual fundraiser video. And you know, check out the beat tapes on our Bandcamp, the Today's Future Sound .bandcamp.com, soundcloud.com/Today's Future Sound. So you can peep that out, and that's there. It's as a resource.
Yo, so we want to say at the Rec Show Podcast, thank you to every single one of your team members that gives their time, you know what I mean, gives effort, gives energy to this program, man, to the nonprofits and everything that they're doing, man, because, man, y'all the real heroes, man. Y'all the real heroes. Like, I get it. There's, you know, people doing some amazing physical feats in sports and entertainment and stuff like that, but this is what y'all are doing is where we need it at, man. Like, man, man, we got to talk about. I got to talk about this. We got to talk about the fundraiser that's going on right now, man. So, your fundraising, I think it started 2 days ago. Was it 2 days ago?
Yeah, it started on Giving Tuesday. We launch it each year on Giving Tuesday, even though it's getting like earlier and earlier that people are asking for money and doing these Cyber Monday, Black Friday sales. But Giving Tuesday is the answer to like the rapid consumerism that we deal with, engage in on Black Friday and Cyber Monday, right? Buy. And instead says on Giving Tuesday, instead donate to a pro-social cause, to a nonprofit organization, to nonprofits that are doing something good for the world. And instead of like just investing in more crap that we don't need, or maybe we feel that we need, don't actually need, or whatever, give money to a cause that has a positive impact on the world. So we launched our campaign, we dropped our video, and if folks want to donate, they can go to todaysfuturesound.org or to the short link bit.ly. Y'all know the short links bit.ly, so it's bit.ly/ and it's all capitals TFS, as in Today's Future Sound, TFS AF for annual fundraiser 24. So all caps bit.ly/ TFS AF 24. Or just go to todaysfuturesound.org. If you go to the Today's Future Sound Instagram profile or our Twitter profile, on Twitter it's at TFS_beats. It's in the bio link. We can link it up. You go to our Instagram or our YouTube or our Facebook, get the links. You can also watch the videos and see pictures of what's going on, and see video of folks teaching, kids learning, our instructors teaching. We really do need the support. It's been a rough year, I know, for everyone, but we need a lot of help on our fundraiser. We're a bit behind and hoping to rally. So if y'all can make a tax-deductible donation, even of just like $10, right? Even $10, you get a best of the Global Beat Cypher compilation, but it's a mixed compilation. DJ Noof mixed the volume 1 last year that we gave as thank you gifts that we're giving. And volume 2 is going to be a thank you gift for the $10 level. We got t-shirts like this and hats for higher giving levels. It really makes a huge difference in us being able to sustain our work in elementary. We're teaching elementary school students beat making, 4th and 5th graders, even younger sometimes, middle school students, high school students, kids in juvenile detention and foster systems. Imagine being a 4th grader and getting to make beats and having professional beat makers come in and make beats with you and being able to make your own beat tapes. Like, it's a no-brainer for me, and I hope most beat makers can understand that. And if y'all can donate, it really helps. If you even if you only donate $10, or if you can't donate, you can't afford it, share the video, like the video on all the different platforms, comment on it, share it with one person that you think would like it, share it with someone that maybe you think could donate or believes in the mission, because you never know who's going to see it. You never know, and that's really important. And we're trying to spread our mission. We're also doing a Beat Cypher year-end annual fundraiser event in person, Sunday, December 17th, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. in Oakland, California, the Bay Area, at Lovely Day, where we've been doing a lot of our Beat Cypher OAKs, the Oakland Beat Cyphers. This is volume 21, Beat Cypher OAK. Open Aux, we always have an Open Aux. It'll be Open Aux at the beginning, maybe even one at the end. Beat sets by Telly McLean, who I believe has been a guest on this program. Looking for people like Science, a bunch of other really dope beat makers. Let me check the lineup, because it's so many that, like, incredibly talented beat makers, and the Open Aux remains open for everyone. We always do that. It's really important that people have a place, a venue, and an opportunity to play their beats out loud for the audience, for the cypher and hip hop. We got Bravo Domo, who's dope from Sacramento.
Team Machine. That's a Team Machine guy, yo.
Incredible dancer too. EC, who's Monsrock's cousin, who runs Flip a Beat Club. Science, Will Randolph V, who is an incredible beat maker and performer and a monster beat battler. If you want to see some of the most entertaining beat battles you'll see in your life, go back and watch Team Canada with Lachey and Works versus my man Will Randolph V and my little homie Mickey Breeze, who's an incredible turntablist and beat maker from Twin Cities, Minnesota. U.S. versus Canada team beat battle. Anyway, not to digress too much, but Will Randolph.
I think I seen that one, yo. Oh, Oh man, I gotta
Yeah,
go back.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
Lax the Monk, who I was talking about, one of the best finger drummers in California, performing live finger drumming. DJ01, Spider Beats. There'll be, you know, I'm sure Fifth P will show up, who's incredible. Bobby Mack and AWOL, if you know them. Cotty Wample Records, those are the little homies. Hopefully they're coming out too. You know, Hamza, who's another incredible beat maker and artist and rapper and singer. Anyone who's in the Bay and you make beats, come play your beats in the Open Aux. It's all about building community, opportunity, a venue, a place for us to gather as beat makers. Yeah, and you know, if you could donate, we appreciate it. We got some dope merch. We also got the prototype of the TFS 5-panel jockey cap here. You can see this is mini little TFS logos. We also got the Beats for Lunch gear. We got bucket hats, dad hats, snapbacks. Man, I haven't even showed anyone else this before, but like, this is the, hasn't even been posted on the website, but we got this kind of water resistant kind of coach jacket. You feel me, with the TFS logo here. We also got other windbreakers with hoodies, camo windbreakers that are pretty sick. So we got a lot of really dope gear. We got, you know, hoodies and t-shirts. I'll show you one of the, this is one of our many bucket hats. We got custom hats coming, more different designs. And, you know, Beats for Lunch. I'll show y'all we got Beats for Lunch logo, Ableton Push Dream Machine student hoodies, which is what I'm wearing. I'm wearing the t-shirt right now, but we got hoodies, t-shirts of this. You can see it's a Dream Machine because it's got both this is our OG logo, has, you know, the turntable and the keys and the book and the beat machine, that PC kind of thing. So we got this in color with a bite out of it. Beats for Lunch, our program at West Oakland Middle School. We've been running during lunchtime since 2012, right? Which really was a jumping off point. So we got this, and if you make a big enough donation, you get that as part of your thank you gift. But you could also just buy the gear directly. You know, we ship these all over the world. It supports a good cause. Windbreakers, hoodies, crew necks, t-shirts. We've got tons of one-of-a-kind hats. So I'm really excited about that. People can come check that out and support. Go to today'sfuturesound.bigcartel.com. You can buy it there, or if you want to DM Today's Future Sound, or you can DM me, Philip Drummond, if you want to cop some stuff. We're also selling limited edition Otherground MF Doom figurines and some bootleg Quasimodo joints too. It's pretty fresh. We also got some in blue as well. Multiple different iterations of the MF Doom thing. So just some underground Chilean hip hop memorabilia, super bootleg.
Okay, wait. Hold on, man, because you pique your mind interest, definitely, because I believe in what y'all doing, man. So I'm gonna DM you about them two figurines right there, all right? Internets, man. So when you go to today's future sound .org, right?
Yep.
You're going to see, I think it's 8 different tiers that you can donate, right? So starts off with $10. You get a digital GBC beat tape, global beat cipher beat tape. Then it goes to $25, where you get more stuff included. $50, $100, and then more stuff just keeps getting added to it. But then also the Big Cartel, Today's Future Sound .Big Cartel. Did I have that right?
Yeah. .bigcartel.com. That's where our digital storefront, where we have t-shirts and hats and stuff like that. You can order through that. For the figurines, just hit me up directly. We haven't really put that on the store, but buying them from some homies in Chile and reselling them. I've already sold a bunch in Australia and locally here. They're dope, man. If you're a hip hop head, you gotta have your figurines, your beat machines. We got crazy limited edition sticker packs, handmade in Mexico, of all these different crazy mutant beat machines, like a 303 with slime in it, and a Mosquito SP1200. Our sticker game is dumb. We got some crazy beat making stickers for sale as well, and it all supports our therapeutic beat making groups that we do in elementary, middle, and high schools, in juvenile detention and community settings, and the free beat ciphers that we do not only here in Oakland, nationally and internationally, right? So bringing it to your local community, we're able to do that with your support, and we really do depend on community support and this year-end annual fundraiser. It's a tax-deductible donation if you're in the United States. If you're not, we still really appreciate the support, and you're supporting something really positive. And we've been putting out free beat tapes for 12 years, right? And all the Global Beat Cypher beat tapes are for free download with, people like Shay, Works, Boom Baptist, crazy names, Buckwild, Doug Infinite, but all made beats that were on these Global Beat Cypher videos and that are on these beat tapes. Stolen Drums.
Oh man, I'm trying to do the math in my head. There's 17 times 4. What's that? I don't know. There's 400 and something beat tapes on Today's Future Sounds Bandcamp. Yeah. Okay, so
your 500 beat tapes. Yeah.
Almost 500 beat tapes. Hey yo, y'all need to tap. I'm gonna link everything in the description in the net, so don't even worry about it. The goal right now for Today's Future Sound is 20,000. And do I have that right?
We're aiming for 20,000. Yep, we need your help to push the needle on that. So remember, anything helps. $10 helps. You don't do $5. Do $5, whatever. Do 5 more and get the beat tape. It's fire. And anything at all helps. If you can't donate, share, pass it along, spread the message, spread the love. Our hashtag and our slogan for this campaign is keep kids making beats.
I like that, yo. I like that, man. Yo, so here's what the Rec Show podcast is going to do, man. I'm going to keep that posted on the podcast, on the IG stories. I'm going to keep that posted all month in December, yo. That's my pledge to you. That's my pledge to you, man. Every day, it's going to be up there with the link to donate to Today's Future Sound. Giving Tuesday, the fundraiser for 2023, man. So all month, that's what y'all gonna see, man. So anytime y'all click on the Rec Show podcast, it's gonna be things about future guests and the episodes we have coming up and stuff like that. But this is a little bit bigger impact, man, and we all should get behind this and other programs that are going on around in the United States and around the world too, man. He's talking Chile, Australia, America, Spain. I don't know if you've been to Spain yet. Tokyo. I don't know
we're
if
working
you've been
on
to
it.
Japan yet. You know what I'm saying? So,
we're working on the Japan tour with the homies from Australia. Shout out the Chop and my man Debo, who we do the annual Beat Battle fundraiser with in Sydney usually every July. We do a fundraiser beat battle, then we do a goodbye party and beat cypher. For me, it's my going away party. Filthy's going away party. So we did that in September. It was amazing, and we're planning a Japanese tour with Australian beat makers, hopefully some American beat makers. Maybe come on over with me, and anyone else who's part of the crew or who wants to come along. Japan's on the list, and I know people there. We got folks there too. So yeah, we're looking at it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. always scheming there, but in a good way though. Okay, so last 2 questions.
Mm-hmm.
It might be actually 2.5, but let me ask this question. Out of all the things that you can create, man, and all the things that you've done, why create music?
So this comes back again to my therapeutic beat making model, explaining how and why music, but particularly beat making, is therapeutic, right? When you make music, you're expressing, it's coming from inside you, right? And it's something that you do externally, but it's coming from within you. It's something that you're creating and generating. It's your unconscious being projected into the outside world. So you're expressing what's inside you, and you're creating your own nonverbal musical narrative. That's the way I view beats and beat making. But the repetition of the beats and the drums and the repetition can also calm our nervous system and put us into light trance-like states. It calms us down. Repetitive beats, repetitive motions help us to calm down. That's why, kids who maybe are on the autistic or Asperger's spectrum do that kind of hand flapping, self-soothing behavior. That's why if you have a baby, you rock it rhythmically, right? And you may sing to it. So we can soothe ourselves, communicate to ourselves, communicate to others, help to kind of calm ourselves down, create something that exists outside of us, right? That's tangible. right? And I think it reminds us of our existence, reminds us of who we are. It's a way that we share a piece of ourselves in the world with others, a way that we communicate and join with others. And it's a pretty profound thing if you think about it. For someone to listen to a piece of music that you've made, to see you perform and really connect with you and engage, it's an incredible way of connecting. It's a very connected way. And like when I did a live stream about this morning on my Instagram, on the Philip Drummond Instagram, explaining how and why, beat making is therapeutic. And like us joining in the same moment, syncing up, nodding our head or dancing or just syncing to the same beat is really unifying us in a pretty profound way, sometimes beyond what words can express. In the same way that making music, I think, can help us to express maybe what we can't articulate with words necessarily, non-verbally. Our lived experience, our trauma is non-verbal, it's pre-verbal. We receive it into our brains, into our amygdala, which is our attachment system, before it gets to the part of our brain, our prefrontal cortex, where we think and construct language. It first goes through our amygdala and through our body, right? And so therefore, we can express things that we may not be able to otherwise express or process, and process in a different way. And music soothes us, it helps us to express ourselves, helps us to join. It gives us a profound feeling of connection, and I think it can be, making music can give you purpose and help you to have something, help your identity outside of like whatever your job is, whether it's connected to music or not. It can be an alternative way, alternative sense of identity. I don't give a shit about, what job someone works or other stuff in their lives. If I know them as a beat maker and I love their beats, I first and foremost connect to them as that. And it's been like that for 20, 25 years. We're like, so-and-so beats, like, I receive you as an artist. I care about you. I think about you as an artist. And that's important for us to have those communities and subcultures and those identities where we're received as that. And we're not like, Bob who does, construction, or is a janitor, or who's a psychologist or whatever. We all connect through beats and through hip hop culture and that shared subculture. And that's why I think like communities like Flip a Beat Club or the Global Beat Cypher or Beat Cypher OAK or any of these other communities of beat makers and music and hip hop musicians and artists are so important, and places where we're hopefully joining in positive ways and supporting each other and have an identity outside of that. So I think making music is incredibly important in that. I think it's important to build and construct things where we often destruct things, right? I think it's important to not just be a consumer, but to be a producer. I think it's also important to be a consumer as well as a producer, right? And we learn constantly by making music. I think there's so many different aspects to it. I could talk about it for hours, but those are some of my thoughts on it.
I got you, man. Yo, how can the internet tap into, where can the internet find you? Any like social media links or websites or anything like that?
Yeah. My website, I'd say my Linktree is the best place to go. Linktree, it's like or linktr.ee or whatever it is. Linktree/Filthy Drummond with a PH will take you to all my different kind of pages. I'm on SoundCloud as Philip Drummond with 2 L's, PhillipDrummond. I'm on Bandcamp, same spelling, philipdrummond.bandcamp.com. filthybeats.com with a PH, only 1 L in that one. At Philip Drummond, 2 L's, PhillipDrummond on Instagram. I have a Facebook page profile as well under that's linked to that, and you can also go to facebook.com/filthydbeats. YouTube is Philip Drummond, same spelling as before, Philip Drummond with 2 L's. Today'sFutureSound.org is our website, at Today's Future Sound on Instagram, Today's Future Sound on YouTube, TFS_beats on Twitter. I'm also on the Philip Drummond handle on Threads, the Instagram, Twitter kind of spin-off thing from Instagram. today'sfuturesound.org, good place to go. Our fundraisers, the bit.ly/TFSAF24. Go check out, the video there, make a donation. Follow us on social media to know what's going on in terms of like events and such. And we live stream the Beat Cyphers if you can't make it in person on Today's Future Sound on Instagram. Our YouTube has a huge library of Beat Cypher broadcasts. We also have it, I think the Twitch ones delete after a while, but they're archived on YouTube. They also were streaming to our facebook.com/Today's Future Sound. Yeah, man. You'll find me where Today's Future Sound is at. And much love to Rec Show Podcast for having me, for its support of Today's Future Sound, therapeutic beat making, hip hop therapy, hip hop education. Check out the year-end annual fundraiser, cop some fresh merch, some beat merch. If you're about that beat life and beat culture, cop the gear. We got dope hats, t-shirts, stickers, windbreakers, hoodies, all that good stuff.
Yo, can we talk about this new single real quick? You got a single that's going to come out. It's called Next to Nothing, I think.
Yeah, it dropped at 12:01 a.m. this morning.
This morning, yeah.
Early this morning.
So.
Yeah, with Best Paul. Well, his AKA is it's with Ray Normandy, which is one of Best Paul's many lo-fi / boom bap aliases. Shout out to my guy Best Paul. I put out several singles with him now, lo-fi and boom bap singles. It's one of my favorite beats that I've made in a long while. Definitely, for sure.
Yo, man, we're going to link that as well. It's going to be a crazy amount of links in this episode, man. So, internets, get ready. Yo, replay this over again, man. Yo, it's going to be holidays coming up. So, yo, listen, if y'all want to give to Today's Future Sound, man, buy some merch, because it's going to impact way more than just going to just buy something that's, like a pair of $300 shoes or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if everybody's spending like that because our dollars ain't buying that much these days. But just consider donating to Today's Future Sound, man. Dr. Elliot Gann, aka Filthy Drummond, Philip Drummond, man. I appreciate your time, man. If you got to say anything to the mutants, to the internets, man, what would be one final thing that you would leave them with?
I got 1.5 things to say. Today's Future Sound has 112 free sample packs that have been crazily curated with some of the dopest samples of music from around the globe, old music to sample, that you can download for free at soundcloud.com/Today's Future Sound. Go download that and consider making a donation. But what would I say? I'd say make beats, not war. Be patient, kind, considerate, compassionate with yourself. Keep making art, keep making music, collaborate. Let's just try to build community and build understanding, and understand that, if other people are mean to you or say some, hater ass shit to you, that it's about them and them projecting their hate. Also, be open to questioning yourself and how your actions impact others. But I really hope that everyone gains as much joy and satisfaction from making beats as I do, and sharing it with each other. Join your local community scene. Keep on building. It's hella cliched, but the youth are our future, and that's why you got to support Today's Future Sound, because the children are the present, but they're also the future. They're the future of beats and hip hop. So you got to support.
junkie, baby. Man, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I just go, cause I really wasn't. I was a final junkie, baby. Junkie, final junkie, baby. Man, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I just go, cause I really wasn't. I was a final junkie, baby. Junkie, final junkie, baby. Man, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I just go, cause I really wasn't. I was a final junkie, baby. Junkie, final junkie, baby. Man, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I just go, cause I really wasn't. Final junkie, baby. Man, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I just go, cause I really wasn't. I was a final junkie, baby. Final junkie, baby. Man, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I just go, cause I really wasn't. I was a final junkie, baby. Final junkie, baby. Man, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I just go, cause I really wasn't. I was a final junkie, baby. Final junkie, baby. Man, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I just go, cause I really wasn't. I was a final junkie, baby. Final junkie, baby. Man, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I just go, cause I really wasn't.
Hey, it's time to kick back. Here's a simple rap. Gonna lay down some lines just like that. Life's a journey, let's take a little ride. With these easy rhymes, we'll enjoy the vibe. We're keeping it light, keeping it easy. This easy rap is so easy peasy. No need for complex, just go with the flow. Let the rhythm guide you, here we go. Sun in the sky, feeling so alive. With friends by your side, we're gonna thrive. Take a deep breath, let your worries fade. In this easy rap, good times are made. We're keeping it light, keeping it breezy. This easy rap, so easy peasy. No need for complex, just go with the flow. Let the rhythm guide you, here we go. Laughter and slide, smile is what we're about. Dancing to the beat, there's no room for doubt. So clap your hands, stomp your feet. In this easy rap, we can't be beat. We're keeping it light, keeping it breezy. This easy rap, so easy peasy. No need for complex, just go with the flow. Let the rhythm guide you, here we go. So remember my pal, in this rap so light, life's a joy. Let's make it bright with these simple words. We'll make a pact to keep it easy, that's a simple fact.
on the planet. The white lights are humans. And these are the mutants.
They tell like younger kids or other producers like that's cheating. You can't really be separate, but bro, like when it comes to this producing shit, you can do whatever you want.
You've been listening to the Rec Show podcast. Be sure to subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Remember 3 things. Believe in your music. Take care of your mentals. Become the best version of yourself. Until the next one, Golden Mind signing off. Peace and love, yo.
To be the best, you got to work overtime. To be the best, you got to work overtime.
These young boys getting better. This is not like the NBA when you can retire. Like this is, you have to keep going.